And that will be the end of that. The victory for England, yes. And they've won by 7 wickets. They've won with plenty of time to spare because they were only chasing down a modest total of 107. And after Sri Lanka winning the T20 series, this one-day international series has started off comfortably in England's favour.
And a very good afternoon. Welcome to Wantage Road, Northampton, where I'm very pleased to say, despite the forecast, the covers are being rolled off, the last of them heading off the ground now. We may see a little bit more rain, but it is far from the deluge that we expected when looking at the forecast over the last couple of days. It is almost time for the second one-day international between England and Sri Lanka's women, all part of the ICC Women's Championship. The toss has been delayed, so we're not going to start on time at 12:30. But I'm very hopeful that we're going to see some cricket, and perhaps some cricket reasonably soon as well. England dominant in that first one-day after the disappointment of defeat in the T20 series. They won that first one-day international at Chester Street by 7 wickets with a mighty 32 overs remaining. It was a dominant victory, to say the least. Mahika Gore on debut in one-day internationals, picking up player of the match, 3 for 26. We'll talk about her no doubt as we go through the day, and once we know the team news, we'll find out if she's going to get another opportunity. But I'm very pleased to say, alongside me, we have a couple of international sporting legends. That's not underplay it. Russell Arnold of Sri Lanka, played well over 200 times for Sri Lanka, and also Catherine Sivabrunt, who won World Cups and Ashes series for England. And Catherine, let's start with you then. You were there at Chester Street a few days ago. It was exactly what England needed, really, after the disappointment of the T20 series.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, it was very good in terms of a confidence boost, and also to just restart, the dominance that they should be showing within a longer format, ODI sense of things. So they were looking for that, definitely. I think there's obviously a few injuries, a few niggles around, so there's having to be a lot of swapping and changing, but they are absolutely trying to, figure out what these youngsters can do, and there are a lot of them now. There's a lot of people who need to have a go. Obviously, Natalie dropped down the batting order a little bit, which is, what John wants to do, wants to explore, wants to give people time at the crease, see what people can do leading into other tournaments, and with 2 World Cups looming. So, yeah, it was really great. I'm glad to see such a clinical performance, and to see the young debutants gain some confidence and to show what they really can do.
Yeah, those debutants, Lauren Filer, Mahika Gore and Maya Bouchier. I mentioned the efforts of Mahika Gore. Filer picked up 3 wickets herself, 3 for 27. And with the bat, Maya Bouchier finished the job off for England, 17 not out. So a very pleasing day all round for England. But Russell Arnold, let's have a little bit of a look at the sort of wider context of things. I suppose that one-day international went rather the way people might have expected in terms of the resource and the relative strength of the two sides. But in terms of a tour, this has already been a triumph for Sri Lanka women. What's the reaction been back at home?
It certainly has been a success, because what Sri Lanka came out here to achieve was to find players, give them the feeling that they can compete in different conditions against better opposition, and that they have done so far. But with 2 ODIs to go, they'd like to be closer. If they can nick one of those games, to really say that they've achieved a lot. But excited back home, because it's success that brings about interest, and you want to build interest in younger girls to take up the sport. More the merrier, as you would know. And also look up to stars who can perform and excite you. You need those idols. Chamari Athapattu, of course, goes without saying, but Harshita Samaravikrama, Vishmi Gunaratna, a few others who are now also contributing, making Chamari Athapattu relax. Otherwise, the team's been only about Chamari. So you'd say the team's a little bit better in the sense of a team itself. So Sri Lanka in the right direction, and that's just what they wanted.
We've got news from the middle. We've not lost any overs. All being well, no more rain. We're going to start at 1 o'clock, so half an hour late, with a toss in 10 minutes from now, so 12:30, which is marvellous news, because we were rather worried we'd be doing an awful lot of talking, and while we might start quite on task and quite on focus, things could have got a little bit weird if it was hour 4 or 5 of our chat, Catherine, so there's a relief for us all. So we will start, all being well, in 40 minutes from now. The warm-ups are beginning to take place. I can see Tammy Beaumont out there in the middle, having a little look at the pitch, which has a tinge of green to it. It's getting a final little mowing out there, and we're not too far away from seeing, I'm sure, both sides warming up in earnest. Plenty of supporters coming through the gates this morning as well, and as England head towards the end of what has been such a busy summer, they'll be looking to finish on a real high. Where do we see? Obviously, there is the real blot on the copybook of that T20 series defeat, but ultimately it's been a huge leap forward, it feels like, this summer, Catherine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of T20 cricket. Like, anything can happen in the space of 2 or 3 balls, and obviously there was a bit of a mix. Sri Lanka were coming off the confidence of that New Zealand series and feeling really good about themselves. England were coming to the end of their season feeling maybe a little bit tired, losing 3 world-class players in, Sophia Dunkley, Sophie Eccleston and Nat Sivabrant. Like, that's cool. I mean, Sri Lanka without Chamari is probably, it's a similar situation. So you can't blame them for the results that happened. Like I said, T20 cricket, anything can happen. So it's kind of a reflection of that. They'll obviously be disappointed, but equally it's great for world cricket. We want Sri Lanka to get better. We want them to feel confident and challenge everyone more and more, the more that they grow. But yeah, this England team's really exciting. They've got lots to go to. On the bench there, we see Alison Davidson-Richardson come into the squad, replacing, I think, Danny Gibson with a bit of a side strain. So that's great for her to be around the squad. And obviously, we've not seen Bess Heath yet. Yep. We don't know if she'll get a little go today. I'd really like to see her have a go, but it's unlikely, because in that game the other day, we didn't see much batting from England. So it's not like you can just take Emma Lamb out and say, just have a little rest after your 20 balls.
So you think Bess Heath could come in and play not as keeper, but as a batter straight? As
a batter, because I think that is where they know Amy's the better keeper. But I think they wanted to explore that batting at this level. On the TV, lots of people in the stadium with all the pressure, and just see how she copes with it. It would be nice to see, but I have a feeling it's probably not today.
Right, well, we will find out at the toss, which is due to take place in 10 minutes from now. Russell, what about this Sri Lanka side then? We saw plenty of changes from the T20 to the one-day international team. What do they need to change today? Because it was a bit of a disappointing showing up at Chester Street.
Change the approach, change the application, not in terms of the personnel. You persevere with them. It's about giving them experience and continuity as well, to understand each other's roles, how you can play together, how to build innings. It's unlike in a T20. There's more work, more planning in how you're going to accumulate your runs that comes into it. So in terms of going out there and batting for longer periods, bowling, it's not fair to judge them when there's no runs on the board. But when the girls were in, they looked good. They looked organised, they looked like they had good technique, but now it's about making those starts count. And I guess it's part of Sri Lanka's development. I think other than for Chamari Athapattu, the other batters still cannot find a boundary when they want to. And hence a little bit more pressure when they're unable to beat the fielder. So there's a bit of work to be done in those areas for them to play a lot better and push England or any other team for that matter.
Has it surprised you, Catherine, how strong Sri Lanka have looked at times during this series, and what we saw particularly, of course, in the T20s?
No, because obviously the New Zealand series showed us where they've gone from and to. There was a time, obviously in my time, where Charlotte Edwards was our batting. If Charlotte didn't fire, we were nowhere. And I know what it's like to be part of that sort of era of relying on 1-2 people max to win you a game, and when it doesn't happen, you just implode, or you just you just automatically think we can't win this. But I think with what I've seen with Sri Lanka is, even though there's still that heavy expectation on Cmmentary and her doing everything, I think it's sort of filtered into the team a bit more now that they've won that New Zealand series, that we can do this. We don't just need Cmmentary. It has to be a team effort, and there's a lot more people. What I really have been impressed with is the way that they've displayed their confidence in their body language. A lot of the time it's Cmmentary with her hands in the air having a go at people, and that's not a negative way. It's because she cares so much.
And also she's got high expectations of what they can do.
Absolutely. She knows what they can do when they're not under stress and pressure. So for me, that's a positive thing. But what's happened is they haven't gone internal and are running around like scared little sheep. They're actually putting their heads up, and I'm seeing a newfound confidence in them. The likes of, I think, Dilhari, she only got a couple of overs the other day at the end, but I really have been impressed with her. I think she for me screams confidence, and I would give her the ball any day of the week. I think people like that, people who stand up, want to bowl, want to contribute, and this is what the Sri Lanka team needs to do. They all need to stand up, not just Cmmentary.
The energy's been good. They've never taken a backward step, even though England have at certain times got on top of them. And that's what you can ask for, the effort right throughout. Dilhari also, good with the bat. They have limited resources, of course. They played the T20 internationals with just the one seamer who's not too quick, gets the ball to move around, but they came up with simple plans and they executed them, they stuck to them. So these are all good signs that they can build on.
It's the competitiveness. It's so competitive. It's like when we play South Africa. If they have all the talent, but if they don't bring that competitiveness, they're like half the team, but they do. It's that fire and the passion that it really does give you a little bit of an edge.
And it's funny, isn't it, with certain teams, you can sometimes see it on one day, they can be a totally different. I go back to Dunedin in the 2022 World Cup when West Indies beat England last year, and it was, we've seen a lot of West Indies over here struggle against England, and it's looked like the team haven't got the cohesion or the fight. And in that game, when they got up and about, they're a different side, and that attitude makes such a difference.
It does massively. I think that's what I'd like from this Sri Lankan team today, is not be phased by the other day and read much into it. Like you said, you can't really judge a team who don't have much to defend on the board. Obviously, it's a new day today, a new challenge for them, and I hope that they come out with the same oomph that they did in that first ODI. That's really important for them, and if they do that, like I say, attitude and the way you just turn up and you're ready for a challenge that day can be the difference between winning and losing.
And as of now, they are quite comfortable in a certain pattern of game. Choke the opposition, and then that strong top order led by Cmmentary just go and chase it down. So quietly they got to evolve into a team that uses different resources and win games from different situations. If they have to bat first, how do you put up a score on the board? So it's a lot of work to be done, let's not be wrong. But again, when I go back to that T20 international series, they did it twice. It was not just a one win and then they were not back to playing average cricket. They maintained those high standards. So that also tells me that the heads are nicely tuned in, and this is what you need to keep doing more and more.
Yeah, well, winning's a habit, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, definitely, and you've got to find a way to win. And I think for Sri Lanka today, I'd like to see them bowl first, because knowing full well that this New England team with John Lewis at the helm it's an aggressive team. They like to stamp the authority, they like to go out there hitting boundaries, and with that in mind, that didn't necessarily work against Sri Lanka in the T20s. They lost lots of wickets. So I'd like them to bowl first to a team with that aggressive mental attitude. And with that attitude, you can lose clusters of wickets. That could bring about a small-ish total for Sri Lanka to chase. And therefore, if Cmmentary knows what job she has on her hands, she might, be best placed to judge that and win a game. So I feel if I was on the coaching staff, I would be encouraging her to do that.
Well, she's marching out to the middle now, Cmmentary out of batter, to join Heather Knight ready for the toss, which is going to take place in the next couple of minutes. Every time I look up, I see more and more people on the outfield. And England are going through their warm-ups, and all of them lying on the ground with
what about
legs
the
in the
sun,
air.
Henry?
What about the sun? It's coming out,
Yeah.
Russell. It's always September is always 30 degrees in this country. It's always lovely. Yeah, as you know, you've come at the right time of year, and England now sort of, I suppose, going through the latter stages of their warm-up. But there'll be a few players in there with a degree of nervousness, Catherine, because when you look at some of the opportunities that have been presented in the last few weeks, not always have they been taken. I think Maya Boucher got some chances and didn't quite take them in the T20. She got a not-out score of 17 in the last game, but she is somebody at 24 who'll be feeling, right, now's the time I've got to start stepping up and showing what I can do.
Yeah, and I think that's what frustrates me about Maya the most, is because I know what she's capable of. I've seen when we were in South Africa in the World Cup, she was reverse sweeping Ishmael for 6, and it was like, did that bother you? No, that was natural to me. And it's like a scary line, but that's the confidence of the girl. But that is not on TV. That's not in a World Cup group stage game or a semi-final. And this is why he's doing what he's doing with these youngsters, because he needs to know if they can do it at this level, and not just, you know, in a Vipers game or at the 100 in a round game. It needs to be representing your country and on a stage where it matters. So. Not that doesn't matter.
No,
but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so it's how they adapt to that. And I guess also this is a new environment. Everybody here is the best in the country. So you suddenly go from the Vipers, where, I'm just using this as an example, but where you're the best in the team.
Yeah.
And then you come into this environment where you're not. Where, you know, you've got to find that way of feeling confident, because sometimes when you know you're the best there, you have that confidence automatically. So... yeah, it's a real challenge for them, and they've got to figure that out mentally, but they've got to figure it out real quick. And no doubt Maya has that in her for sure. Yeah, she's got talent in abundance, and only 24 years old.
Yeah. So plenty of time to show that. Right, is she in the side today? She is. England have won the toss, and they have elected to have a bowl first. There's no Mahika Gore, there's no Bess Heath, there's no Emma Lamb. Danny Gibson, we've just discovered, is going to miss the rest of the series through injury.
Yes, Emma Lamb did have a back spasm, so that doesn't surprise me.
Right, you are. So England winning the toss, bowling first. Line up like this: Tammy Beaumont, Maya Boucher, Heather Knight, the skipper, Nat Siverbrandt, Alice Capsey at 5, Alice Davidson-Richards, who came into the squad in place of Danny Gibson, Amy Jones at 7, Charlie Dean, Sarah Glenn as the spin duo, Kate Cross, and Lauren Filer. So Mahika Gore's introduction to one-day international cricket is just sort of easing in.
Yes.
We're going to see plenty of her, I think.
Yes.
She's 17 years old. She is going back to school next week. And so if you want to hear more from her, I should say, the latest episode of No Balls Cricket Podcast is on the BBC Sport website and app. You'll find the links there, but you'll also find it on BBC Sounds as well under the Test Match Special stream, and it's a belter. She's I'm not sure how much she's intending to be hilarious, but she's so the most chilled out person I've ever heard in my life, Mahika Gore. She's just very relaxed and just
That's what you want.
just very sort of, you know,
Don't take it seriously.
yeah, it's all good. I'm enjoying myself. I've got to go back to school next week. I might see if I can get an extra night at the hotel to watch. You know,
Does she love school? I
think,
wonder.
well,
She's good at school.
Well, I sense that having come over here and got the opportunities through school and cricket, it is a big part of what has been her journey towards where she is now, which is as part of this England side playing in these matches. What about Sri Lanka then? They line up with Chamari Atapatu as expected, Hashita Samara Wigrama as again expected, the left-hander. Vishmi Gunaratne and Nilakshi De Silva is not playing, 12th, gone out of the side. Kavisha Dilhari, Anushka Sanjawani keeps wicket, Dashadi Ranasinghe, Inoka Ranawira, Ashini Kulasiria, Hasini Pereira, Udashika Prabhadani, the left arm seam option, and Hansima Karuna Ratne. Is that the change in? It is. So that is the one change. Out goes Nilakshi De Silva, in comes Hasini Karuna Ratne. So Russell Arnold, what do you make of that lineup? As expected?
Yeah, no real surprises. Nilakshi De Silva got a first ball duck the other day, gave some slip fielding practice, and I think she's paid the price for that. So they're trying out a different player. Nilakshi De Silva's, of course, had all games in the T20 internationals as well, batted well down in Hove. But just as for England, it's the same theory for Sri Lanka. Try and give opportunities and see what you have too.
Well, it'll be interesting to see whether we see a different pattern to the game with England winning the toss. Bowling still be out in the field again. You wanted to see Sri Lanka bowling.
I did. But
you
I mean,
surprised England have done this? I mean, not given the weather and
I
everything
am
else.
actually slightly, because I thought that they would want to guarantee themselves 50 overs to bat. Do you know what I mean? And be able to, if they're wanting to test this top 5, 6, and give them good opportunity, that would have been the best way to go about it.
Catherine, is that a case of not taking any chances? Because as we spoke a while ago, Sri Lanka's best chance of winning a game is to try and choke the opposition and chase it down. So is that at the back of John Lewis's mind?
Possibly. I mean, he's got to think of every way, hasn't he? I think Heather would have definitely favoured doing the same thing. I think in the forefront of their mind, they've got winning this game.
And that's the series.
Yeah, and the series to crush that today. So I guess that's why they've gone about doing what they've done. And if they do win, you know, with a big gap, then they'll probably look to bat first next game. So.
Yeah. And there is still one more match Thursday at Leicester. We'll have that for you as well here on 5 Sports Extra. The England team just jogging down towards us, so we'll be about to do some fielding drills below us. I can see Nat Siva-Brunt, Alice Davis and Richards, Alice Capsey's down there as well, Charlie Dean and Tammy Beaumont. And Phil Long, I'm going to turn to you at this moment, our scorer. Because you've got a Tammy Beaumont stat that we're keeping half an eye on, and you were very excited when we wandered over to get a cup of tea earlier.
I was. Afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I was a bit excited, maybe too excited. But yes, Tammy Beaumont, we mentioned the other day, we were talking to Russell about it, about consecutive appearances for England. This is her 85th today, but that's not the record. She's currently scored at home for England in ODIs. She's scored 2,145 home runs. There's 2 players ahead of her. That's Charlotte Edwards, who made 2,149, so she's got 4 to beat that. And she's got Sarah Taylor on 2,154, just 9 ahead. So 10 runs today for Tammy Beaumont, and she'll become England's all-time highest scorer in home ODIs, which, as Henry and I were mentioning, when she came back into the side in 2016, is quite remarkable, I think.
Yeah, and as an opener, that's your biggest opportunity, isn't it, to have that role and have to be able to break that record. So I mean, she's got 9 in her for sure.
You'd hope so.
99, let's have.
You'd hope so. She's down below us, as I say, going through some fielding drills. With this England side and what we've seen so far in the last couple of weeks against the Sri Lanka team, I mean, whose name are you looking to really stand up and offer something today and really prove what they've got in this side? Who do you want to see a big performance from today?
I would like to see a big performance from Tammy, just to keep, you know, hammering that nail in and knocking on the door as much as possible, because she's fought very hard this last year to not only get back I say get back in, she's never left it in this format, but I mean in all formats, what she's interested in the most. She wants to play in all 3 formats regularly for England. She wants to be on that fixture. She wants to be number 1. So I'm really excited the fact that she's had a really great season and that she's going to hopefully just keep doing that. That is Tammy all over, keep proving a point. That's why she's so good at what she does, because she's so competitive. Obviously Maya, she's got an opportunity there opening the bat, and there's been a lot of talk about it. She's not necessarily shown it yet, so I'm really holding out hope for her today for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned a big opportunity for various people. Kate Cross came back into the T20 outfit, missing for 4 years, was wicketless in the T20. She was wicketless up at Chesterley Street. So 4 games in this sort of Sri Lanka multi-series, she's gone wicketless. How will she feel, Catherine, about that? Will she care?
Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah. For sure.
Or will she think, I'm bowling okay,
yeah.
The wickets will come?
So the problem is, and knowing Catherine, obviously worked closely with her quite a lot over the last few years, and it's like bowling, you count yourself as taking wickets, and a lot of the time after a game you can have your head down, you've got no wickets on the board, but you forgot you went 10 overs for 35, and you forget that, oh, actually I created a hell of a lot of pressure for the other end and they picked them up. Or you look back at the footage and you think, I've actually bowled really well there. I've bowled 80% in the channel at the stumps where I was supposed to, off a good length, and actually I could have had 2 or 3 opportunities, but you always look at that wicket column, always, and that's how you, straight off the bat, judge yourself, and it's a really cruel way to do it, but you can't help it. She'll have lots of people telling her to think otherwise, but we have these dry spells. I was stuck on 99 wickets for what seemed like 1,000 years, so she will definitely be holding that against herself, but a few wickets are, as you know, always around the corner.
As you point out, as a bowler, you're always going to be looking at the wickets column, because that is what is the key.
Yeah.
Do you think this England setup, do you think they are looking at the bigger picture, and they're pretty good at that as a support, and they'll say, yeah, don't worry about it, just keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah, and it's a long journey for Catherine. She's not suited to T20 cricket like she is ODI and Test cricket. That's just a fact. She'll admit that too. But what she has done over the last 2 years is she's not really had a slower ball at all, and never been really brave enough to bowl that short ball. She's been bowling the short ball a lot more in the last 1.5 seasons, and she's also brought in a knuckleball now, which she didn't have before. But as you know, that takes a long time to perfect. That can take 3 years to get it right. So it's very much a work in progress for her. She knows that, and obviously with the likes of Mahika Gore and Filer around knocking on the door, she's got some heavy competition. And don't forget, Izzy Wong could be back in the squad. Obviously very young, taking some time to sort out a run up and get some more rhythm. So yeah, it's a tough field. It's a very tough field, probably tougher than whenever I was around. So yeah, I'm glad I left when I did.
Well, that's the thing. It's all a product, isn't it? Of course, of the professionalism, the fact that players are getting contracts and the opportunity to do far more sort of training, playing, all those things than they ever had previously, and it's all a product which creates this big pool of players. Russell, what about Sri Lanka? How do they avoid what happened up at Durham with that sort of subpar score?
Try and survive the first 10 overs. Chamari Atapattu, of course, she's at her best when she's expressing herself, and when the ball's in her zone, she's got to play her shots to put pressure on the bowlers. But the other batters around her, Anushka Sanjeevani, I'm thinking, would open once again, Harshita Samaravikrama and Vishmi Gunaratne, just to keep accumulating and bat deep. Make England work for their wickets. Doesn't matter if you're going at 4.5, that's what they were doing up in Durham, but they were losing wickets. Not totally panic if things don't go your way, and work your way out of it. That's the only way that top order has to fire if Sri Lanka are going to keep or put a competitive score on the board. And if they don't put up a competitive score on the board, Catherine's wishes aren't going to come true. She's not going to see Mia or Tammy score big as she wants them to.
But what your batters do have, what Sri Lanka's batters do have in common today, is that they're not having to face much swing bowling, which is what they really struggled with the other day. So I think straight away, just based on the team sheet, Chamara will be licking her lips thinking, I've got the pace of Filer to work with, and I don't have to worry about the ball swinging round corners or back into my pads. Obviously with Crossy, she'll be trying to take that away from her. So yeah, I think they'll feel a little bit more calm and probably think that they have more opportunity to score today. Indeed.
Well, we'll wait and see and find out what happens when it all gets underway in about 15 minutes from now. I'm almost going to say it's sunny. What a lovely old day. I mean, there's lots of clouds around, but they're quite defined clouds. It's not that sort of just blanket grey that we saw when we arrived at the ground this morning. And there may be a bit more rain coming, but we are, as things stand, going to start in, 16 minutes from now, which is fabulous news. Loads of other cricket today, of course. We mentioned the County Championship. And now you can listen to every ball of every game on the BBC Sport website and app, and you can indeed do that. Lots of significant fixtures as we head towards the back end of the season. That's 2 more rounds after this one. I'll bring you up to date with the lunchtime scores of the game between Kent and Nottinghamshire in Division 1. Notts trail Kent by 161 runs, 9 wickets remaining. So Kent well on top in that game. Lancashire are 132 for 3, trailing Middlesex by 62 runs after Middlesex 194 all out. A delayed start between Warwickshire and Northants. Warwickshire trailing Northants by 108 runs with 6 wickets remaining. They're 142 for 4 after Northants were all out for 250. Into Division 2, Glamorgan trail Yorkshire by 293 runs, 3 wickets remaining there. Yorkshire 500 exactly all out. Glamorgan 207 for 7. Derbyshire are trailing Gloucestershire by 116 runs, 4 wickets remaining at lunch there. And we were down in Sussex earlier on today with Adrian Harms and Sonia Twigg and the team. Sussex leading Leicestershire by 490 runs with 2 wickets remaining. That could be significant in Division 2. And a little bit of a peculiarity, if you like, with the scorecard for Sussex, that they've made this mighty total in the second innings, 436 for 8, but nobody has got past the score of 69. So loads of starts, but nobody's managed to go on there. But if you want to follow any of those games, BBC Sport website and app has every ball of every game. And I should also say, cricket taking place in the Asia Cup. India against Sri Lanka after that success yesterday in the 2-day game that was a one-day international, if you see what I mean, between India and Pakistan. India absolutely thrashing Pakistan in that game. They're 154 for 4 after 30 overs, with Rohit Sharma out for 53, Shubman Gill for 19, Virat Kohli for 3. Also, KL Rahul has been dismissed for 39. So Ishan Kishan unbeaten on 23. That is the situation in the Asia Cup. In Sri Lanka. It's been a funny old tournament. What are you're waving at me, Russell? Go on.
Yeah, it was a good thing that India finished off Pakistan so quickly. If not, it could have gone into today, the reserve day, and they ended up playing past 12 o'clock and ended up playing 2 games on the one day. So they just avoided that by finishing off Pakistan so quickly.
Don't. Honestly, I can cope with one-day cricket into 2 days, but I can't cope with one-day cricket being 2 games in 1 day. It's
playing 2 different countries on the same way.
Wow. It's because what's been going on there? Because it's just felt like it's been rain.
Well, rain is forecast in Colombo.
And it is that time of year, isn't it?
It's that time of the year, and there were suggestions that the game should have been played either in Dambulla or Hambantota, but the organisers went with Colombo, and the reserve day was included only for that India-Pakistan game. And it was needed to get a result. We all know what interest that game builds, so that's what that was about. But right now, India batting well, I'd say. Yeah. Well placed to...
I loved my time out in Hambantota. It's so hot.
You like the wildlife,
so nice.
I guess.
Yes, I love the wildlife. And we had this hotel, it was like like in the Hobbit. Like hutches.
Oh yeah,
like that. It was really
near
wild.
the elephant sanctuary.
There's geckos everywhere in my room, but
monkeys?
I didn't care.
Monkeys?
Yeah, monkeys, all sorts. Actually, like what the lizards.
Little geckos.
All harmless.
No, big ones.
Oh, the
like
monitor lizard. Yeah, those ones where you can actually hear their footsteps.
Yeah, by the pool. Just great. Loved it.
Terrifying. There's some great footage of a game. I think it must be Sri Lanka, where Phil Tufnell's being chased by a lizard that's up on its hind legs, chasing Tuffers around the outfield. If you can find it anywhere, I highly recommend it. It's one of the... and I'm not underestimating, it's one of the best things I've ever seen. Really, yeah, it's the part of the world where you see some incredible things, some incredible cricket.
Well, not too long ago, last month, during the Lankan Premier League, a game was held up because there was a snake roaming around the outfield. This was at the R. Premadasa Stadium, not in Hambantota where you would expect it. Or Dambulla for that matter.
Honestly. I did see that game in Dambulla actually, where there was a snake that was in the groundsman's hut and there was quite a commotion. And you know that if the sort of the guys that see this sort of thing all the time look a bit perturbed, you know it could be quite serious. And there was a general state of panic before someone arrived, managed to put it in a sort of Hessian sack and take it away, and it was given to the snake catcher. And everyone was a bit sort of freaked out by it. And one of the English journalists thought it'd be funny to remove his belt at one point and then go up behind another journalist and dangle the belt over his shoulder as if it might be the snake.
Did he get a left hook?
Well,
The thoughts, so.
Honestly. Anyway, the things that you see in Sri Lanka, a spectacular place. If ever you're fortunate enough to see cricket there, it's a brilliant place. And yeah, it is the rainy time of year, so we do expect a little bit of rain around. But keep an eye on the Asia Cup because it's bubbling along nicely when the showers and the monsoons allow. All the details on the BBC Sport website and app. Right then, what's going on here 10 minutes before play starts? Well, I can tell you that Mahika Gore is standing, a tall figure with her hands on her hips down below us because she's not playing in today's game, so she's helping with... she's almost the least fun job, which is the backup to the person with the mitt.
Yep, and I'm just thinking, I was just trying to work out the squad that we'd selected for this game, and it seems to me that Alison Davidson-Richardson is coming in as instead of Bess Heath, because some people would probably be grumbled as to why she's not getting a go, and it's because she obviously bowls seam, and as we're one seamer light and gone spin heavy, and Natalie isn't bowling just yet.
Yep.
She comes in as that extra seamer.
Yep, and so that's what England have done. And the other change coming in today sees Charlie Dean into the England side. So it's 2 changes, is that right? With Lamb and Gore out and Davidson-Richards, and Charlie Dean coming in as well. So England will have the spin duo of Dean and Sarah Glenn. Glenn taking 3
Don't forget about Alice. She got
yes.
She had a good... She bowled 5 overs?
5 overs, 1 for 12. She's becoming quite a genuine all-rounder.
She is. She's Heather must be spewing because she loves to bowl. She loves to come on and just pinch wickets when they're 8 down or something.
Well, hold on a minute. This is Heather that took 5 for on debut as captain.
Yeah. All right. Well, did it happen again?
It didn't happen again. In fairness, she holds a unique record, I think.
Yeah. Since then, she's come on. Have a look at what position teams have been in, and when she's brought herself onto bowl. Whereas Alice Capsey, I think, is actually coming in.
It's captain's prerogative, though, isn't it? You would have made a brilliant captain.
I actually would have forgot to bowl myself.
No.
Yeah, I was captain in the 100. I say 100. I think it might have been the Kia Super League actually, for Northern Diamonds, and we were playing the Vipers, the GS Bowl, and it got to the end, and I was thinking, crikey, where do I go? Who do I go to? I'd got an over left.
Yes.
And I bowled Katie Levick in the penultimate over, and I can't remember who I went to for the end, but obviously Katie went some distance. Paige Schofield got hold of her, but we were on the edge of winning, and we never beat them there.
Oh.
On the spin to win at GS Bowl, and I came off the pitch, and they were like, "Do you realise?"
You had an over left.
And I had to scooch over to Sky and talk to them and let them rub it in as well. And it's not acceptable.
Captaincy is a very difficult thing because you've got a lot of thinking to do. You've got to balance your bowlers.
Why'd no one tell me?
But no one needs to tell you. When you're captain, you open batting, you open bowling.
And I go in the slip.
Easy. Captain's prerogative. That's the joy of it. Oh dear. Speaking of captains, Chamari Atapattu will be opening the batting for Sri Lanka shortly. She's over the last few games. She's been, for somebody that bears so much responsibility in this Sri Lankan side, she doesn't half perform. You look at how she got on over the T20 matches, but also go a little bit further back. She scored 200s in the ODI series, unbeaten, may I add, between Sri Lanka and New Zealand, including 140 not out at Gaul. She then got an 80 not out in one of the T20 matches. In the matches that we've seen so far in this series, 15 at Hove, but it was rain effect. It was a funny old game. Then she scored 55, 44 in the 2 successful T20 internationals. Only 10, which was a bit of a failure, in the game at Chester Street. But, I mean, there's not many games, Russell, where she doesn't stand up and do the business.
No, she usually goes out and leads from the front. She's very consistent of late, which is another win for Sri Lanka. As I mentioned before, Henry, the area that they need to work on also is to set up scores. Now, all those scores you mentioned, Sri Lanka were batting second. They're in a much better zone, well equipped to chase down scores. They know this is how we're going to go about it. This is what we need to score. So I think even for Chamari, that's the next step in her development or in her career, to project and get Sri Lanka to good positions. Chasing, she's right at the top on how she sets her game up.
OK, I'm going to ask you both this question. What do you want England to restrict Sri Lanka to today, Catherine?
Good question.
Think about Mia and Tammy.
Yeah. Like I said, I wanted to see 200s, didn't I?
Yes.
I'm not sure how's Northampton been playing this season. Someone give me the info. Well, Phil, come on. Anyway, it normally plays quite well here. When I've bowled here, it's not been the most fabulous place to bowl at batters.
It looks like a new pitch to me.
And it also runs away real quick.
Yeah.
So I'd like to say that the 2 openers are going to have a wicketless partnership at the end for quite some time. So I'd like to say, I'm going to say 300.
Oh.
I'm feeling it today.
Are you? Russell?
Yeah.
You look at Phil, I'll give you... Russell is literally speechless. His jaw is
Yeah,
on
we're
the floor.
really going for it today.
Yeah,
Phil.
I was staggered when I heard the number 300. Let me...
Really?
400 then, if you like.
No, let me tell you this. This is the... this will be the 18th times the teams have met. There's a no result in there. So the 19th time, they've played 18 times. And all those occasions that Sri Lanka have played England, they've only gone past 200 twice. Once at the Braeborn, we mentioned it the other day, in the 2013 World Cup, and in the World Cup here in 2017, they made 204 for 8 at Taunton. So I would say 200 would be a goal, and then maybe go from there.
Do you know what?
I'll take... I'm with Phil here, Catherine. I'm with Phil.
Well, I think you're showing a startling
I
lack of
just
ambition
really
then.
You got to start somewhere. That's where
agree.
Sri Lanka are. So 200, 220 is a starting point.
I'm going to
Let's
give
get
you.
there first.
I'm going to give you my reasoning,
Go on.
and it's because I told you I really want to see Tammy and Maya get 100. So if they can't get 300, we're not going to see.
You're going to be crying out for the bowlers to be
I'm
dropped.
obviously reserving 100 for Natalie. So
Well, yeah, so
there's the 300.
It's going to
so
be an extraordinary innings that's going to see exactly scores of 100
if
for
you
England's
wanted my
openers. And
actual what score I actually believe they're going to post, it's probably around 180.
okay.
But I think I'm hoping for the 300. Come on, Sri Lanka.
So you're going to have a brand new bowling lineup in Leicester. You'll be crying for their heads if they concede 300 here, Catherine.
It'll be a really great game.
It will be. They're
Cricket gods.
well, we want a big scoring game with loads of runs and loads of fun.
We start the day well. The game is on for a start. That's
Well,
Have a word to
a
Heather.
great start.
that is
Back
true.
first.
Yes.
That is true. Phil Long, sorry,
They
I've got
will.
my back to you, Phil.
No, little word. I think we've not mentioned her, and she's the kind of player that quietly goes under the radar. We always mention it. Amy Jones, 5 catches for her the other day, which was an England record, and a good time for her to perform in that way with Beth Heath in the squad and sort of knocking on the door. Not necessarily knocking on Amy Jones's door, but certainly is around and about. So yeah, 5 catches for Amy Jones. That was an England record in terms of catches in an ODI.
You used to live with Amy. If you throw the TV remote across the room, would you just be like,
Yeah, she would be like no look, just
really?
hand up.
Because I always
in the
wondered
middle.
that with living with wicket keepers.
No, not quite as cool as that, but
She had a great game the other day.
she did. Amy's not going to feel pressure with the gloves at all, I don't think. No, it's nothing against Bess, but she's very good at what she does, and hence why she's taken the gloves since Sarah retired. So, yeah, I don't think there's any pressure on in that regard, but definitely with the bat, she would be hoping to score consistently. Do you know what I mean? I think that's been the one thing with Amy, is probably the consistency. We know what she can do, and it's just about actually doing it, but doing it consistently and when it matters.
Yeah, had a decent 100, just a couple of scores not out in the 40s, and a 33 there as well, and played a brilliant knock at Edgbaston in the Women's
that
Ashes
was
as well.
great.
It felt like an angry innings, that.
It was.
It felt like she was...
That's the Amy. And when I talked earlier about how somebody turns up that day, if you know they're going to win or if they're going to be on. Like, sometimes I'll just be able to look at someone and I'm like, oh, crikey, I'm off home. I can't even be bothered to play against this gal today. She's mental. Like when we're watching the New Zealand batter for the men.
Finn Allen.
Nope. This is really going to get me. Mitchell, is it?
Oh, yeah, Darryl Mitchell.
And he's crouching and he's got this look on his face, and I'm like, he's scoring 50 to 100 today, no doubt. So when someone's on, it's when they say about Johnny Bairstow, isn't it? They know
the more that he gets questioned, the more runs he scores. It's a very
so
easy
true.
game.
And that's Tammy. That's our Tammy. And Amy, not necessarily. She doesn't give much away. She doesn't smile when she gets a 50 either.
Yeah.
But she know that she's on. So it's that aggression. Yeah. There's no tentativeness. There's no questioning her ability.
The steel in the eyes.
Yeah.
Right then, we're pretty much ready to go. As you mentioned, Amy Jones, she is playing in this game in her 81st one-day international. She's played 91 T20s as well, and 5 Test matches. Suddenly, it's a career that is pretty extensive. Phil.
Yeah, and Catherine mentioned Amy taking the gloves when Sarah Taylor retired. This is Amy Jones' 61st consecutive ODI for England. So yeah, once she's and Tammy Beaumont, we also mentioned, she's now on to 85 consecutive appearances, mainstays of this England team.
Lovely. Mainstays of the England team. Mainstays of our team, Phil Long, over there. And Daniel Norcross wearing a lovely Mac is going to come and take up the commentary. It's a very fetching sort of, it's an autumnal jacket. Behave. And Catherine Zimmer-Brunt, some thoughts from you, and then it will be the aforementioned Daniel to take us through the opening stages of the game.
We should stop undressing yourself, Dan. Keep that jacket on. It's flashing.
Everybody else is in T-shirts and Dan's in a pack-a-mac.
Well, yeah, because I looked at the forecast, which is completely nonsensical.
Well, you've got to go humid warmth, so
Yeah.
just T-shirt, but brolly, because you don't want
I've
to be
got a lovely brolly.
drenched.
Got a huge brolly, but
To
I
be
haven't
fair,
used
you
it
are
yet.
dressed proper and
Thank you.
appropriately, so
Thank
I'll
you very
give you
much,
that.
Catherine.
And it's
That's very
not
kind
going to rain in the commentary box. So
I don't know why I've kept
It's
it
because
on.
he's older, he feels the cold now.
I do.
I've started feeling it.
I do, young lady. I feel very cold. Right, we're ready to start. What have you spotted, Phil?
well, we are ready to start, but somebody's walked in front of
right
the,
in front, right in front of the side screen, just to get cracking. So, Catherine Cross is in from the pavilion end. The first ball gets a thick inside edge and it's going to squirt away down to the boundary for 4. Well. Take a look at that again on the replay to see how much movement she got, but a fortuitous start for Sri Lanka.
My 300 is on.
It's on.
It's on.
It's on.
Just to
I'm
let
with
you know.
you. I'm with you, Catherine. Why
Yeah.
not?
Come
Why
on,
can't we have-
cricket.
Well, now then, I think I might have been a little bit unfair on Jawari Atapatu. There wasn't so much of an inside edge as a rather splendid leg glance. Now I see it. The angle we're at made that look like a thick inside edge, but actually it was a quite deliberate little flick off the pads. And she's underway straight away with 4 as Cross is in again. 2 slips in place down the leg side. Wide
Yeah.
is signalled. I'm actually genuinely upset that 2 metre Mahika is not playing today.
That rolls off the tongue nicely.
It does, doesn't it?
2 metre Mahika. Yeah, I am actually a little bit as well, because I feel like conditions are quite nice for that. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? And there's a slight slope just to make things even worse.
They did that in the T20s as well. I'll come back to it in a second as Cross is in once more. This is driven
Shot.
beautifully by Atapatu through the offside for 4. It was full, it was a little bit wide, and it's gone between cover and extra cover all along the ground for 4 more. And so, I was listening to what everyone was saying there, and I'm with you, Catherine. I think if Atapatu scores 178 here, there's
Which
every
is so
chance.
possible.
It's so possible.
It's not even like, that's not even an exaggeration, that's just Atapatu. But
She's brilliant. She's
The-
a terrific cricketer.
the 2 things I said was fast outfield and a good pitch here normally, so that's actually happened so far.
Cross in again, forward in defence comes Atapatu, defending a ball on off stump.
Yeah.
And I think she's just getting better and better. And yeah, you were out in Hong Kong for the fair break tournament, and she was opening the batting every time, and she was every inch as good an opener as some of the other openers are out there. Danny Wyatt, Deandra Dottin. I mean, she's a class apart, isn't she?
She is. She hits the ball like a train. She's one of those gals that just, it's not right. You want to check the bat.
Cross is in. This swings back into the pads and actually gets into a little bit of a tangle. The ball plops out on the leg side, and there's no run. But coming back to Mahika Gore, she made a T20 debut on that rain-ruined game at Hove, and she only bowled 2 overs and was then rested, so to speak. Then she's played 1 game, picked up 3 wickets, rested again.
Yeah.
There's only 1 more game to find out before she goes back to school. As Cross is in, and Atapatu works full ball on the pads into the onside.
I think for
There's
me,
no run.
John's had a look at her now. She played fair break. She opened some eyes there.
Highest dot ball percentage in that tournament.
Yes, it was. And then she came, obviously, over here, played with Lancashire. Her 100 was great. And then she played that. I mean, from that game the other day, you don't need to see more of what she's capable of. That's what she's capable of. But what you do need to do is remember she's 17 and that she can have a back injury.
Cross in once more, play and miss, and a channel outside the off stump. Through to the keeper, end of the over, a profitable one for Sri Lanka, 9 from it. Atapatu with 8.
And as we
That
can
one
see,
wide.
Mahika is better in this team than she isn't. So they got to protect their assets, and it's about the long-term game with her. She's going to be a huge asset to this team, and yeah, I'd like to. I actually am in favour of them protecting her, because as a player, you just don't protect yourself. That's for sure.
Can she play at Leicester though? There's only 1 more game left.
I bet my house on it.
Good. You'll get your break now.
Don't do that, please.
No, well, somebody in our team has bet on the French women to beat the Scottish women. which is a most unusual thing for anybody to do. And I don't think it went too well. Alex Hartley,
Hello, hello.
you're up from your TV duties. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm very much enjoying a couple of lovely shots from Matapatu in that first over.
I missed them.
This is fun because Lauren Filer is going to get the new ball, and he's suddenly just a little bit on the edge of his seat when Lauren Filer comes into bowl. So, top of her mark, 2 slips in place, bowling to Gunaratne, right arm over the wicket. Bowls a rapid ball, but a bit too short, and it's cut away down towards the deep third boundary. It'll be 4. So, a good positive start for the Sri Lankans. Both these openers getting off the mark with a 4 off their first balls. 13 without loss. We've only had 7 deliveries. I've got to say I'm a little bit disappointed at the crowd here, and I think there might be a reason for it. And look, it's not normal for somebody on the BBC to whine about other aspects of the BBC, but the BBC weather app today basically said it was going to rain all day, and it hasn't at all. As Filer runs in, that's down the leg side, taken by Amy Jones. A big appeal. Not out, says umpire Anna Harris. But if it's no, it must have touched something. Firstly, because of the appeal, and secondly, because umpire's not given a wide. And Heather Knight is going straight up for that. She thinks there was a gap between bat and pad, and that must have been what caused the noise. Do you mind if I move your water away from the screen? Thank you.
Of course.
Right.
What, you want to be able to look what's happened?
Well, I just thought I might give it a go. I could make it up. Often I've been accused of doing that.
I do feel like it's come off something.
I think it must have come off something, mustn't it? Here we go. It's speared down the leg side. Back nowhere near the bat. I think it's hit the thigh pad. You think a bit of glove, do you?
Glove or thigh pad for me.
It's a good take by Amy Jones, moving away to her left, taking it two-handed down the leg side. They're going to have to check ultra edge here. There's certainly a deflection. But is this an eager review first up? What are you seeing, Phil?
Well, Lauren Filer doesn't look very confident, does she? She's wandering back to her mark.
Yes. Here we go. Ultra edge. Yeah, not on the bat. And it's going to hit the thigh pad. A chunky part of the thigh pad, it must be said. And that's not going to be out. So a poor review. England have lost 1 of their 2. And so far, Sri Lanka are not only 13 without loss, they've also managed to get England to burn a review, which is a good start.
It's a great start, isn't it, for Sri Lanka? And just angling the ball down the leg side there, just swinging far too much for Lauren Filer. And it just clips the thigh pad.
Filer in again, still with those 2 slips there, short. Up on her toes goes Gunaratne, plays into the offside. And there's no run. I was saying to Catherine a moment ago, but I'm now stopped in my tracks by the smell of food. What can you smell? You smell food?
I can smell food. There is food in the box.
Chicken curry.
There's food in the house. It's chicken curry.
We'll have to go and get some after.
So Luke is going to be our guinea pig here. We're going to find out whether it's worth the trek round the other side of the ground. It's all fallen outside the off stump, playing and missing an indeterminate little waft from Gunaratne through to the keeper's gloves.
There's one thing that's got me throughout this England-Sri Lanka series is the Sri Lankan batting order has never been the same.
Ah.
So Gunaratne batted 4 in the previous one-day international, but today she's opening.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that you're not going to have a settled side if you up and down the order.
Filer in again, short. That's a hostile ball, which was flirting with their Gunaratne, but in the end lets it go through to Amy Jones. And indeed, De Silva. Now, in which it was the Hove T20, wasn't it?
She got 18 off 8.
Hit 3 beautiful boundaries off consecutive balls, and we've hardly seen her bat since.
No, and she's been dropped today. She got a gold in the last game, batting in the middle order. Just seems all very savage.
It does. As Filer is in once more, driven through extra cover for 4. That's a very positive shot. Again, a bit too full and wide as Filer strives to see if the ball will do anything. At the end of the over, 17 without loss. We've had 4 boundaries and a wide. Already 2 overs gone.
Yeah, just too full from Lauren Filer there. The ball actually swinging away from the right-hander. Some lovely shape, but just no control for the seamer. Full and wide. Easy pickings through the offside.
Do you think any plate of food has ever managed to fill with its odoriferousness, a box quite as... Oh, there are two, are there? Oh, I see. There's one right behind me. I was wondering how this had happened.
Especially by the window.
Of course, Phil Long's got his food. As Kate crosses in, forward comes Atapatu and guides the backward point. There's no... I'm surprised he hasn't got two of them.
Well, Phil Long can't wander around halfway through the innings and get his lunch, can he?
Diddums.
Oh.
Could have gone at 12. I'm surprised you weren't there at 12.
Who says I wasn't?
Phil Long, by the way, one day, maybe, at some point during the World Cup, we might be able to do... You know, Henry likes to do little video inserts, doesn't he? He likes to make us work hard when we've got days off. This cross is in again. This is flashed in the air through the covers for 4. Again, in front of square, between extra and point. And Sri Lanka have started really positively here. They're coming at England. 21 without loss, the 5th boundary.
And with that, Kate Cross wants a field change. She wants one of those slips to come out and potentially a cover to come in. She's just talking to Captain Heather Knight. Not a bad delivery. Great shot from Atapatu. You know what she's capable of. And we saw in the previous one-day international, when Atapatu doesn't fire, Sri Lanka fail.
Well,
so a lot relies on you getting her out. So I would like England to stay being aggressive to Atapatu.
Well, England have left out the bowler that gets Atapatu out for fun, which is, of course, Mahika Gore. But she's not there, which will no doubt please Atapatu. Now, Kate Cross may want to slip out, but Heather Knight is refusing it. She's saying, no, we're going to stick like this for the time being, as Cross is in, and this is guided to backward point off the front foot. It's outside the off stump by Atapatu, but straight to Tammy Beaumont. There's no run.
Yeah, Mahika Gore, you just mentioned there, she's faced... she's bowled to Atapatu 4 times in international cricket, both in England colours and for the UAE. Dismissed her 3 times.
It's not bad, is it? Before you're even 18.
It's not bad. Not bad at all.
Anyway, let's not talk about who's not here, I suppose. Let's talk about who is.
I can see her on the sideline.
Cross. In. Driven again. Firmly through extra cover for 4 more. This time it was much closer to the extra cover inside the circle. But it's again firmly hit. And as Cross strives for that movement, tries to get that ball full, it brings Atapatu's lacing cover drives into play.
Well, the previous delivery was a good delivery from Kate Cross, but an exceptional shot from Atapatu. This time it's just too full from Cross in the slot. No cover. Easy drive through the covers for 4.
What I like, though, is that Atapatu is standing outside her crease. Can make it even more difficult for Cross here. She's advancing. She has murderous intent in mind. Cross. Into her, she advances again and then just guides this nicely, beating Tammy Beaumont at point down towards deep third, where Sarah Glenn does the fielding. 1 more to the total, 26 without loss. We haven't even finished the 3rd over yet.
They're flying.
They're flying.
They're flying.
They could get the 300 we were talking about before. Catherine Silverbrunt, that is. We've got too many Catherines knocking about today. Catherine Silverbrunt wants Sri Lanka to score 300 because she weirdly thinks that this makes it possible for Emma Lamb, Tammy Beaumont and her wife all to score exactly 100 in response.
It'd be hard because Emma Lamb's not playing.
Oh, that's right. So who's the other 100 she wanted? Oh, Bush. Was it Bush?
The mighty Bush.
They wanted the mighty Bush to do it, right. Yeah.
Yeah, poor Emma Lamb's got a back spasm.
There's a lot of it about, isn't there?
Yeah.
With England openers. Jason Roy having one the other day.
They're horrible as well.
Have you had one?
Yeah.
Cross in. Oh, beats the outside edge. Does it? Edged and gone. Finger goes up. Gunaratne goes just pushing forward to a ball just outside the off stump. May have just tailed away slightly. Thin edge. Through to Amy Jones, who took a comfortable catch round about knee height. And Sri Lanka lose their first at 26 for 1 after 3.
England finally get the breakthrough they were after. It's not the captain, just the delivery outside the off stump. She's fishing outside that off stump. There's no foot movement, playing outside the line of her body. Not a great shot, just looking to defend the ball into the offside. Just tickles the outside edge. And Gunaratne, she's got to go for 8. But England, they've finally got the breakthrough after a good start from Sri Lanka.
Gunaratne will be annoyed with that because when she played positive shots, went at the ball, she looked like a proper player. There, what was her reward going to be? It was outside the off stump. She might have pushed it into the covers, might have got a single. No more than that. It was just a little prod.
Yeah, it wasn't a good shot really at all.
No, right, so I want to get back to the videos that Henry Moran He makes us work so hard when we're away. Do you remember all of last winter?
I'm looking forward to doing those.
They were fun, weren't they?
Yeah.
My word, I mean, you've got a storyboard, a lot of them. I want to do one with Phil Long and video him maximising buffet breakfast. He can talk us through his entire routine.
I think that could become a trend.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, you should know this, having been to India. You've got to be very careful with any buffet when you're in India.
You do, don't you? So you'd start with a masala dosa, would you?
Always go with the masala dosa. I might finish just with the masala dosa.
But have 3 or 4 of them.
Maybe.
Filer is in. Atapatu defends from the crease into the offside, and there's no run. The first time she's faced Filer, first time she's been at that end.
So my brother, talking about, you want to film him doing buffet breakfast, my brother's got an idea that he wants to become viral about.
Ooh.
And he wants to do a TikTok thing called a one bomb. And he wants to see a one bomb. And he wants to see how many items of food he can shove in his mouth with one go and eat.
Oh.
He did a whole croissant the other day.
Wow. Filer in. Short, carved out and missed. That was perilously close to the outside edge, but Atapatu survives.
And I think it's obviously really degrading to film yourself.
To be clear, it's just one item of food, or is it?
So a whole croissant, you've got to get it in one. A Scotch egg in one.
Right. Well, how about sort of 15 Space Invaders? I saw Lizzie Ammon, the Times journalist, do that. I think she made it to 15. You know those little things with the sherbet in the middle? As Filer is in once more. That's short and carved out again and missed. This is surprising because there's 2 pretty loose deliveries. That one at 72 miles an hour. And Atapatu's going after them, as she has every right to, but missing them.
Yeah, I think it's the way to go to Atapatu, to be completely honest. The full one, she drives through the covers, but we saw Mahika Gore get her out in the first T20. She bounced her, and then a back of the length delivery that she's fishing at. So I actually like the shorter ploy to Chamari Atapatu.
Filer, who's got this magnificent first approach to her run-up. It's clipped away down towards long leg for a single. 27 for 1, Atapatu to 18. So a croissant, is that the largest thing he's managed to get in his mouth in one go?
Yeah, I think so far. But he's going to call it Will Hartley's one bombs.
Will Hartley's one bombs. Well, Phil's a man who can eat an extremis if he's only got like 5 seconds to get something into his face. What's the largest thing you've ever put into your mouth and eaten in one go? Filer is in. That's short outside the off stump, left alone by Samara Wickrama, and there is no run.
I was impressed by the Scotch egg.
Yeah, whole Scotch egg.
Whole Scotch egg.
That is.
And that would be quite. I mean, you've got to be careful. Don't try it at home, kids, because it's chokeable. That is. Scotch egg. I reckon I might be able to do. I've got quite a small mouth, ironically. A pan au chocolat.
Yeah.
Smallish one. Here comes Filer to complete the over, wide outside the off stump. Left alone this time. No run off it. How many off that over, please, Phil? Was it just a single? 27 for 1 from 4. Atapatu has 18. Samara Wickrama yet to score.
But the thing is, if you're filming yourself shoving food into your face, it's not going to be good viewing. But also, the things that go viral these days and the things that are popular are very strange things. So I think you should do it.
I think he should do it. I think he should definitely do it.
Yeah.
I mean, has he got anything else on pressing at the moment?
He's a sports videographer, so he does documentaries on sports people.
Right.
So no, he's fine.
He's got plenty of time. Well, get in touch with us. Let us know what you think we should get Will Hartley to put in his mouth and eat in one go. Kate Cross in from round the wicket, and that's driven through the covers for 4 by Atapatu again. A murderous shot for sure. And Kate Cross has got to be thinking here. I don't know whether she's aware, but Atapatu is advancing. So what a ball that she might think is a good length is a half volley length by the time Atapatu gets there. She gets a big stride in. And that is that the 3rd or 4th time she's hit Kate Cross through the covers for 4?
It's the 5th time.
The 5th time? The 5th?
5 fours. The first one was the one that's tucked away.
Tucked away, yeah. I think it's a 4th.
I want to see a bouncer from Kate Cross.
Cross in, and that's just full, but slower perhaps on this occasion, and defended from the crease by Atapatu into the covers. Can't find the run. As Alice Capsey does the fielding.
I just think that back of a length delivery is harder to get away than the ones that are full and you're trying to swing. I know that You know, Crosses trying to bowl the occasional outswinger, but again, that previous one was a wobble ball at the top of the stumps. That's the length you want to be bowling. A bouncer.
Still one slip of base and a catching mid-wicket. Crosses in. This is clipped away down through deep backward square legs. You get a single, but just a single as Filer does the fielding. 32 for 1. And Filer's got this magnificent approach in her run-up. It's a little bit like, you know, the 30-kilometre walkers when she first starts. But it's also reminiscent, and Phil's probably of the generation that might know I'm talking about, and I can't quite remember who it is, but a sort of 1950s comedian like Max Wall or someone. There's something very distinctive about the way Lauren Filer starts, and then she curls the ball behind her back.
Bob Willis.
Again, big Bob Willis, that absolutely. But it's not her bowling at the moment, it's Kate Cross, who's under the pump a bit here. 1 for 23 from 15 balls, 2 slips in place. Samara Wickrama drives nicely, neatly, but up to mid-off, straight along the ground. There's no run.
Will Hartley says
Yes.
to open his Willy Wombombs account, he will start with the best one that gets tweeted to us.
Cool. Ostrich egg? That's probably a bit too much, isn't it?
A pickled ostrich egg. Because a pickled egg is always a tricky one, isn't it?
Fermented egg.
Yeah.
He's got to enjoy it, come on.
Does he? Cross. In outside the off stump, flashed at and missed by Samara Wickrama. There's no run. What's easier for me? Is pastry easier than say, meat?
You want him to do a fillet steak?
Well, I was thinking of a Cumberland sausage, because that's curls, doesn't it? So you could, theoretically, as it curls round, place it in sort of horizontally, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The problem with a longer sausage is that it might hit the back of... You might not get it all in, is what I'm saying. This is full and pushed up to mid-off. And there's no run. It's ended the over, thank heavens, and I've got to make way. 32 for 1, Atapatu 23. Samara Wickrama's yet to score. Artif Noir's going to replace me. After some more thoughts by corpsing Hartley, or so maybe it might be better if Phil Long steps in. I don't know, one of you talk.
I will talk very briefly while Atif jumps in. Yeah, Sri Lanka, we've mentioned this fabled 300. Catherine Siva Brunt thinks 300 is on the cards. Sri Lanka's highest ever score in ODIs is 282 for 5, which they made against India at Brabourne in the 2013 World Cup. Their high score in English soils is 257 for 9 they made at Bristol against Australia. Jamari Atapatu, 178 not out.
Wow. Well, she started well. She's on 23 of 18 here today. Good afternoon, everybody. Lauren Filer in, short, and big swing outside the line, through to the keeper, no run.
So the previous 4 balls that Lauren Filer has bowled at Atapatu, they've been back of a length, they've been on the shorter side, and she's not been able to get them away. This is why I'm frustrated that I want Cross to do that, just bowl short, back of a length, because it might be the pace of Filer that's beating Atapatu, but I think rather than going full and straight and giving her that driving option, take it away.
Here's Filer now into Chamari Atapatu again, back of a length, left alone by Chamari through to the keeper. She holds the pose as well. I tell you what, Alex, I was on there's a little gantry. This is my first time at Northampton, by the way. What a lovely, lovely town it is. I don't know who's going to win this game, but I have already been victorious, Phil. You will have heard me make a phone call appealing something this morning, and I can tell you that I have been successful.
I heard that phone call. I'm surprised that you met success there. I thought the fellow was stonewalling you there big time.
No.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Here is Filer. This is short, down the leg side. Big swing from Atapatu. She doesn't connect, but it has been signalled a wide by the umpire. Yeah, can you believe it, Alex? I got a parking ticket this morning in Northampton.
Did you?
I did, and
at the hotel?
I was guaranteed by the gentleman I spoke to on the phone that I wouldn't, because the parking machine wasn't working, the ticket machine. And then this morning I saw the ticket there, so I obviously called and appealed, and I've just had a call a little bit earlier to say yes, the ticket has been cancelled.
Oh, perfect.
There we go.
Perfect.
I like you again, Northampton. Very, very nice. Very nice. 33 for 1 Sri Lanka so far after 5.2 overs. Here's Lauren Filer. This is short again, and Atapatu just struggling to firmly get behind that length. She even sort of taps her bat to applaud the length. I think you're spot on, Alex. That back of a length delivery is a lot harder to sort of play with conviction.
Yeah, and I think as soon as the batter is saying well bowled, you know it's a good delivery. Atapatu just on the back foot looking to defend the ball, but it nips away from her with the angle that Filer's bowling.
They're just taking a second. Oh, somebody's standing behind.
I think that could be Dan Norcross.
It could be Daniel on the gantry. So our perspective here at Northampton is at an angle, but it's at a great height. We're on like the 4th floor of a building, and we're sort of looking on from where a long off might if the right-hander was batting from our perspective. And there's a lovely little bridge that connects to commentary boxes either side, and it's really lovely. It's a great vantage point, but not when you're behind when you're in the batter's eye line, Daniel. Is it him? Must have been. Anyway, we're going to resume now. Lauren Filer into Atapatu. There's that one just sliding down leg side, but it hits the pad. They'll run through for a leg by. It's been a much better over this from Filer, just keeping Atapatu on a leash. 34 for 1 or 5.4.
Yeah, now with Atapatu at the non-striker's end, it's a good opportunity for Filer to go back to a fuller delivery and try and snick off the batter. She's getting some decent shape, is Lauren Filer as well.
Yeah, just a lot more uncomfortable is Atapatu. She's at the non-striker's end now, and Samara Vikrama is on strike. Lauren Filer, I believe, is going to come round the wicket now to the left-hander. In she comes. She bowls. Back of length, driven beautifully. Oh, that's a gorgeous shot. Just sat up and she punched it between backward point and cover, and it runs away to the boundary for 4. And there's a big Sri Lankan contingent in the crowd here in Northampton. They very much enjoyed that shot, and a terrific shot it was, Alex.
Yeah, lovely shot. It was the same length that she's been bowling to Chamari Atapatu, but the change of angle, the ball's just going straight on. There's no shape on that delivery, whereas the angle before, when she's coming over the wicket, going across Atapatu.
Still 2 slips in place as Filer comes in again. This is short, and it's just been flicked away down towards deep third for a single by Samara Vikrama. She'll keep the strike as well. It's the end of the 6th over. 39 for 1 Sri Lanka. Going really, really well. Just the 1 wicket to fall this morning. Vishmi Gunaratne fell for 8 to Kate Cross, caught behind by Jones. And well, we've seen some glorious shots from Atapatu already this morning. I was going to say, Alex, I was on that balcony that we talk about, and the sound it makes off the bat, like the acoustics here at Northampton are brilliant. I mean, it's a very small ground, but it retains the sound of the bat. You hear that big gunshot echo when the ball hits the bat, and it just sounds glorious.
Yeah, it does indeed. I love it when you can hear that as well, and you just hear that.
Yeah.
The covers.
But I mean, you say, it feels more like a, like, you know.
We could do the noises all day.
We could. Sorry, I'm not one for onomatopoeia. Right, Samara Vikrama is on strike. Kate Cross to begin her 4th over now, and that's a better length from her. Beats the drive, nearly takes an outside edge through to the keeper. There's no run. And that's what you were looking for, Alex. You wanted that back of a length delivery. You just get the feeling it would be more effective to Chamari Atapatu, who's looking to get forward with conviction on that drive.
Yeah, I do, and I just think we've seen Filer do it time and time again, so I'd like to see Cross just go ever so slightly shorter. Get them fishing outside the off stump. That delivery was perfect. Batter even nodding, saying well bowled.
Yeah, a lot of respect being shown at the moment as the next ball's just been played defensively into the onside and there is no run. I'm not sure how I feel about that, Alex. You know, a lot of this like, oh, well bowled, well, that's a good ball, well played. Like, I mean, I understand, like, it's very nice to be nice and be very friendly, but where's that fire, that competitive edge, that...
Oh,
you know?
I think you still respect a good delivery. We see it all the time in Test match cricket. Even England, Australia, they do it. You know, you see Smith and Labuschagne
Don't
nod.
like that. Don't like it at all. Where's the fire? Bring the fire. Here's Kate Cross again. That ball's been driven to extra cover. There is no run. Just the intensity of it. I quite like that sort of, that gladiatorial, you know, the combative feeling a little bit. Like, obviously, it doesn't have to get mean or nasty, but I want it to feel like an intense competition. Whereas everything is just very friendly here right now. Everybody's like very nice and friendly and probably
Here,
making
have another half volley.
Well bowled.
Here's Kate Cross now into Samara Vikrama, who pushes this ball to mid-off. They're running through for a quick single. Nice early call from Samara Vikrama. And they get through with ease. 40 for 1 now, Sri Lanka, after 6.4 overs. And England, who won the toss a little bit earlier, put Sri Lanka into bat. I think a few people were looking at low totals. What did Catherine guess a little bit earlier? 189, I think she said? Well, yeah, of course, sorry. Russell's correctly straight away said she said 300. But I think her, like, her amended total was 189. They're looking good for that, at least, for sure. As crosses in into the pads of Atapatu, pushes this to forward square leg, and there's no run.
I just think you get Atapatu out and you can bowl them out for 100 again. I really do.
Yeah?
all relies on Atapatu. And we saw it in the T20 series. Yes, other batters were chipping in with a 20 here and there, but she was scoring the bulk of the runs, and the bulk of the runs quickly.
Yeah, Vishmi Gunaratne would have been my sort of second shout as well to end up being one of the top scorers, but she's back in the dugout. Here is Kate Cross, and she beats that outside edge. Atapatu just pulling her back inside the line. Big smile on her face. And it's all very friendly here at Northampton. 40 for 1 Sri Lanka after 7 overs. That smile tells you that Kate Cross has found a much nicer length, and it's a bit more probing, isn't it? That's what it is, probing. I think that's the right word.
Yeah, it's definitely better. Just back of a length wobble balls for Kate Cross. But it can happen where you're searching for a wicket. You've got 2 slips in play. You think you need to go slightly fuller, and you end up bowling half volleys.
Yeah, it's sort of sparsely attended, but they're a very enthusiastic crowd who've turned up. A lot of Sri Lankan flags I've seen in some of the stands, and there's some face painting going on. There's a fried chicken stand that kind of caught my interest. I'm not going to lie, Alex.
Yeah, mine.
Thinking about chicken. That. Here is Filer to continue, and there's nearly an outside edge as well as Samara Vikrama looked to chase that outside the off stump, goes through to the keeper. There is no run. 40 for 1 the score remains for Sri Lanka. They'll be very desperate to get back into this as well. I mean, I think expectations were raised from the Sri Lankan team after that T20 series, after they, won it in sort of, I think we can say, heroic fashion. I think all of a sudden people are kind of like, right, it's not just good enough to compete now. We want to see you go out there and win games. So Filer is in. This is short, and it's very, very short, in fact, and Filer falls over in a follow-through. Umpire signals a wide, so there's a bit of insult to injury. I just ballooned off the surface, didn't it?
It's a fast bowler thing, isn't it? We see Mark Wood throw himself on the floor time and time again, just that momentum through the crease. She's running slightly quicker, bouncer, wayward bouncer, as we see it go way over the batter's head, and she tumbles on the floor.
That's like a forward roll, the sideways roll almost.
She's all right, she gets up and laughs.
Yeah. Again, there's somebody behind the batter's eye line. I think they're looking lower than the actual
Please let it be Dan Norcross.
Love it. I would love it.
I think Daniel's headed across the building.
It's one of the corporate boxes.
Yeah, it's one of the corporate boxes. They've got the door open. There's a gentleman bringing some drinks out. Here we go. Lauren Filer in again. As that ball's been worked off the hips only as far as mid-wicket. There is no run.
And the little girl who got ushered inside, you could just hear her go, why? Because you're behind the bowler's arm, and so is the waiter now. And you're in a white top,
He's trying to take somebody's electronic payment. It's one of those machines. He's probably in one of those areas where you don't get great signal. He's going to have to stand there for ages. Well, at least people are enjoying themselves.
Shut the doors.
Well, Samara Vikrama, I think, wants to continue. She's back down at the crease now. As in comes Filer. Oh, nearly an outside edge. In fact, there is an outside edge. And through to the keeper. And Samara Vikrama has to go. And Lauren Filer rewarded for some really, really disciplined bowling. Hit that length over and over again. And through to the keeper. And the second wicket falls for Sri Lanka, 41 for 2. Phil?
We'll see it again now. I'm not sure Amy Jones took it that cleanly.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, she nearly sort of put it down, didn't she? It went through to her, and she had it. I feel like she had it under control, so if it did drop, they probably would have still given it. It would have been a controversial one to review, but I think that's a fair outcome based on what we've seen so far, Alex. She's been bowling a brilliant length. She deserved that wicket.
Yeah, she really did. Filer, I spoke to her after the previous game and said, congratulations, you got your 3 for on debut. Said, it's funny, isn't it? I didn't actually feel that good. She said, I'll have a day where I feel better and I won't get the reward, I won't get the wickets. But today she's hammered that back of her length line, that length. She's had both batters probing outside the off stump. It was only a matter of time before that little tickle went through to the slips or Amy Jones. And she deserves that, does Lauren Filer.
She does indeed. Now, frustratingly, there are still delays. There's people in that. I think we have to think about the positioning of that hospitality box.
It's in the most ridiculous position.
Yeah.
You can't even see over the sight screen.
And the thing is, if you make the side screen taller to stop the delays, then you can't see the match. Well, we're still waiting. So new batter's made her way out. It's Hassani Pereira, who's on strike, just having a little look around at the field. There's a deep backward square leg, a deep third, mid-on and mid-off up inside the circle. 2 slips in place as in comes Lauren Filer to Pereira. Starts with a short ball, and Pereira just weaves out of the way of that one through to the keeper. There is no run. Right, I think we're okay. I think that the controversy behind that window thing is going to be over now. I think somebody's closed the door, something like that, so that's over. That length from Filer was just brilliant, wasn't it? Just leaving the batter. She's keen to push forward.
Yeah, and the best thing about that was it was slightly fuller than the previous 4 or 5 deliveries that she's bowled.
Just sucked her into the drive. Here's Filer again to Pereira. This is wild down the leg side, and an outstanding take from Jones behind the stumps. She had to dive full stretch across the leg side. Has been signalled a wide by the umpire. I mean, these are the things we take for granted with Amy Jones, but it's never gets less impressive for me. No,
she just makes everything look so easy, doesn't she? Behind the stumps, full length dive to her right. Figure that out then.
Yeah, you have to do it. You have to like shadow do it.
Turn around.
Filer into Pereira now. This is a short ball and nearly inducing the edge again. Pereira very uncomfortable with that length. To be fair, all of the Sri Lankan batters so far have struggled with that back of a length delivery, just rising on the batter, not sure whether to go forward or stay back. There was that one drive, I thought, from Harshita Samara Vikrama where she was on the back foot to that delivery and punched it through the covers. That was great. But other than that, they've struggled.
It's also the angle that Lauren Filer's bowling as well. She's coming over the wicket, pushing the ball across the left-handers. So as soon as it pitches, it's almost like it's going to nip away from the left-handed batters.
There's more delays. I wonder if we can convince the people who gave me that ticket this morning to transfer it to those guys for causing the delay. Here is a Filer now into Pereira, who works this off her hips to square leg. There is no run. And outstanding over that from Lauren Filer. Just the extras from it in the end, the wide and the wicket as well of Harshita Samara Vikrama. 42 for 2 Sri Lanka after 8 overs. Still going at a decent run rate, but as you said, Alex, I think this has been the narrative of this team a little bit. It all kind of revolves around Chamari Atapattu. She's a uniquely classy player, and you know, a lot of the way the game is going to go is going to revolve around her performance specifically.
Yeah, 100%. I think however she goes, the team go. I think if she goes well, it almost gives the batters more confidence to go out there and play some shots.
Now this is interesting. Kate Cross is going to continue for a 5th over. Still got a slip in place as she runs in and bowls to Atapattu, who drives off a thick inside edge to mid-on, and there's no run. She's gone into a shell a little bit, Atapattu. We haven't seen any of those flowing drives for a few overs now. They've done a good job of reining her in, England.
Just riding the wave is the skipper, because they've lost 2 quick wickets. She won't want to have her team be bowled out cheaply again. What she'll know is the longer she sticks around, the easier it'll become, but the more runs they'll obviously get on the board.
This cross is into Atapattu again, outside the off stump and left alone through to the keeper. There is no run. Finding greater success, England, with that length and good pace from Cross as well, 68 miles per hour. Opening the bowling with Lauren Filer today. No Mahika Gore. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but if you do miss Mahika Gore, you can listen to her on the No Balls podcast. What was it like chatting to... I mean, I won't ask you this, Alex. What is it like interviewing someone that you actually know really well?
Oh, it's easier.
Yeah.
Because you can just talk about whatever you fancy, really.
Yeah, I look forward to listening to that.
She was brilliant.
Here is Cross now into Atapattu. This is full and slapped down the ground. Well, that is an outstanding shot. 1 bounce 4 over the mid-wicket boundary. Just slapped by Atapattu. You could hear that sound. Against the runner play a little bit, but it was a fuller delivery. It seemed like she was waiting for that and she pounced.
Yeah, great shot from Chamari Atapattu. Just stand and deliver. There was barely any foot movement whatsoever. It was in the slot, almost T20 style, just smacks it down the ground for 4.
Here's Cross now, in again. Back to that length, that's been much more fruitful. Left alone by Atapattu, through to the keeper, no run. Phil.
Yeah, I was about to tell you that Kate Cross's first 13 balls went for 22. Her next 13 went for just 2. And then Chamari Atapattu kind of spoiled it, so...
Minus that shot.
Yeah, it was... she just pulls out these shots of great authority, which I can only imagine are demoralising for the opposition. And she hits the ball so cleanly, so hard. That's Chamari Atapattu. As here is Cross. This is overpitched, and this has been flicked over the mid-wicket boundary. Is it going to go all the way for 6? It is! Terrific shot from Chamari Atapattu, slightly overpitching Kate Cross and being punished. Atapattu flicking that ball like a bit of lint off her trousers. And it brings up the 50 for Sri Lanka as well. 52 now, the score for 2 wickets after 8 overs.
So when you see a shot like that from a batter, you automatically think the ball's going down the leg side, and she's just helped it along the way. It wasn't. That ball pitched just outside the off stump, going on to hit middle and off. It was fuller again from Kate Cross, and it's that fuller de length that Cmmentary has been punishing time and time again, and this time connects, and it goes all the way for 6.
It's a superb connection from Atapatu. She's on to 33 of 29 deliveries now, as Cross is into Atapatu again, who guides this ball off the back foot down to deep third, where it'll be fielded by Sarah Glenn. Just a single to end the over. So Sri Lanka 53 for 2 after 9 overs, with Atapatu on 34 of 30 deliveries. She's going to keep the strike as well.
There's a huge tell for when Kate Cross is enjoying it or not enjoying it. And I know it's going to sound really silly, but she hasn't smiled once. And I think when she's smiling, she's enjoying it, she's got a laugh on her face, she plays her best cricket. But today, I'm not quite sure we've seen that laughy, smiley Cross that we're used to seeing out there in the middle.
She just opened her hair a little bit as well, with a forlorn expression on her face as well. Doesn't seem very pleased at the moment,
She's
Kate
got
Cross.
a stern, resting face.
Yeah, she does have a wicket for her troubles this morning. 1 for her, 1 for Lauren Filer so far. England well and truly still in this game. Now Charlie Dean's going to come into the attack, still at the power play, playing a full 50 over game despite the 30-minute delay at the start because of rain.
There was no need for that delay. Absolutely no
It was
need.
sort of drizzly, but I think you could have started in that. I think we said you could have started in that, especially if you expected things to clear up.
But when they started, and I was walking back from doing the TV stuff, it was raining.
Yeah. So why didn't you start half an hour ago? I know what you mean. You've got to get their ducks in a row. So many different ducks that you have to get in a row.
I think they were expecting the rain that never came.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, it stayed dry here at Northampton. Here is Charlie Dean for a first delivery into Atapatu. Bit of turn away from the left-hander, who pushes this ball to backward point. There is no run. 53 for 2, the score remains.
I think we'll just see Atapatu just get used to the pace of the change of bowling, get used to Charlie Dean, who bowls quicker than the Sri Lankan bowlers.
There is Dean again, and that ball's just pushed defensively just in front of cover, but they don't take a single. It's a risky move, this, really, with Dean coming into Atapatu in the power play. Only a couple of fielders allowed outside the circle.
Yeah, she's used to bowling in the power play, though, in T20s, London Spirit.
Mid-on, mid-off, up inside the circle, as Dean is into Atapatu, who has a big swing at that delivery. It turns sharply away from her outside edge and goes through to the keeper. And Cmmentary has a look on her face that sort of reminds me. Did you ever watch Krypton Factor when you were a kid?
You always watch things that I've never heard of.
Krypton Factor. Anybody in the room seen Krypton Factor? There we go. Okay, I've seen a few hands just to make sure. But it's like when you're really puzzled. I'll tell you about it in a second. Here comes Dean, and that ball. Oh, there's a big appeal for LBW. The finger goes up. Charlie Dean has the breakthrough. There's an immediate review from Cmmentary Atapatu. But if that didn't take a bit of bat on its way through, it looks stone cold, LBW. 53 for 3 Sri Lanka. There's a lot resting on this review.
This is huge for both teams, for England and for Sri Lanka. But the change of bowling for the skipper, Heather Knight, has brought the big wicket of Cmmentary Atapatu.
Let's have a look at this. As a well-flighted delivery, just sort of holds its line. Is it sliding down? Oh, it definitely hit pad first. Well, I think she's in trouble, especially as that's been given off on field. You can see off and middle stump as the ball makes contact with the pad, but I don't think it's turning enough to go down the leg side, Alex.
Yeah, I think it's turned, so it's held its line rather than anything. So I do think it will be clipping leg stump. But we shall see.
They might go through the ultra edge thing, even though it feels like it was pretty obviously pad first, I beg your pardon. Yeah, 53 for 3. Cmmentary Atapatu still standing her ground in the middle. She's going to wait and see what happens, right? So ultra edge shows clearly that the front pad was hit first by the ball. And she's trapped on her crease. If this isn't out, I'll be very, very surprised. Now, here we go. We finally have ball tracking. Ball pitches in line and hits in front of middle and is hitting the top of leg stump. So that review is going to be lost by Sri Lanka. Or perhaps more catastrophically, their captain is headed back to the dugout for 34 off 34 deliveries. Sri Lanka 53 for 3. Charlie Dean in the power play with a breakthrough for England.
Yeah, really well bowled from Charlie Dean. Just slightly straighter, attacking the stumps. The ball pitches, holds its line. There's a nothing shot from Cmmentary Atapatu, who actually hits her back pad, and the bat gets stuck in the flap of her pad. Shakes her head as she goes off.
The pad flap.
The pad flap.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. The bat gets stuck in there. So she wasn't pressing forward. She was just stuck on the crease. But Charlie Dean, a couple of balls that outside the off stump, the straighter one. Very well bowled by Charlie Dean.
Yeah. Back into the side today. Immediate impact. You can't ask for much better than that. 4 dot balls and a wicket to start off with in the power play. And England, as you said a little bit earlier, Alex, now they'll be kind of smelling blood here. They know they can run through the Sri Lankan batting lineup. It's time to see what depth there is in this batting order, as Charlie Dean now into the new batter, who's Hansima Karunaratne, who pushes this ball to extra cover. There is no run.
This is where things change for Sri Lanka. Things just start to slow down. Chamari Atapattu taking on Kate Cross.
Both batters yet to score at the moment, as in comes Dean as well. That ball's pushed to cover. There is no run. 10 overs have been bowled in the Sri Lanka innings, 53 for 3. I think we're having a double change at the moment. So, Phil, give us some thoughts on the game so far. And then Henry Moran's going to take up commentary alongside Russell Arnold.
Yeah, Chamari Atapattu out in that over. 34 runs at a run of all 34 balls faced. Interestingly, 6 fours and 1 6. So 30 of those runs came in boundaries, but she's gone now before the end of the power play.
You sense that's significant. Tends to be with this Sri Lanka side. As we mentioned in the first 45 minutes or so of the programme, while we were waiting for this game to get underway, there is a game underway in the Asia Cup, Russell Arnold. And goodness me, the wickets are tumbling. India are 190 for 9 in the 45th over.
Yeah, I just had a look. Charita Salanka's picked up 4 wickets. So that's like Joe Root picking up 6 wickets in 4 overs.
Yeah.
So that'll tell you something about what's happening on that pitch.
Okay, so it's not a done deal yet.
No, it's going to be a real arm wrestle to the end.
And they've won 13 in a row, Sri Lanka's men.
Yep, they've played, won the last 13 games. Of course, Sri Lanka were at the qualifiers where they had to play the West Indies, Zimbabwe, the beaten Afghanistan a couple of times in that run.
Here comes Davison Richards bowling, and off the back foot, Pereira punches the ball into the offside.
Bangladesh a couple of times. But none of the big boys. So this is a big game when you look at the opposition that they played.
Yes.
But winning is a habit. And that's reflecting. They started to win games even when their backs are against the walls, which is a good thing. Confidence.
Yeah. Winning, as you say, very much a habit. So, with Davison Richards and the England shirt that now has 4 stars above the badge, they're adding stars on an almost daily basis. Here comes Davison Richards. That's slashed away through backward point for 4. Nice shot. Just leaning on the ball, Pereira. And there's a little bit of extra bounce, a little bit wide perhaps, from the England all-rounder. And punished away through the offside. 57 for 3.
So much control with that shot. Bowling around the wickets, there wasn't a lot of width, but the timing was perfect. Now we've seen that with the Sri Lankan batters today. When it's pitched up, they've been able to carve it through that offside. Chamari Atapattu, of course, over mid-on, over mid-wicket.
Full of this time, and rather hanging the bat out there is Pereira. Goes through to Amy Jones.
But just as when we're getting excited, the wickets are falling from somewhere or other.
I know. And it's frustrating, isn't it? Because just when you sense that there could be a bit of a platform, and they need to find a way to build a partnership here. Pereira and Karunaratne have only faced 8 balls between them. Pereira's faced 6 of them. She's on strike now, waiting for Davison Richards around the wicket. Full once again, driven, but straight to mid-off.
Sri Lanka focused on getting a good foundation right at the top. That's why Bishmi Gunaratne was moved back to the top of the order. She opened the batting. She is an opening batter, the 18-year-old. And played a couple of superb cover drives in that first over, but then hung her bat outside to a ball that went away from Kate Cross. But the big wicket was Harshita Samaravikrama.
Here comes Davison Richards. This is again sliced away through backward point, again beating the dive of Tammy Beaumont, and once more finding the boundary. Almost identical shot to what we saw earlier in the over. 61 for 3 now.
Stylishly played. Good stride in, opening the face of the bat and making contact very late to take it fine off Beaumont at the point. The ball flies away a large square, as you know, in most of these English grounds. You hit it square of the wicket, it just keeps travelling. It's not slowing up ever.
Yeah, races away, doesn't it?
Harshita Samaravickrama also probably driving at one that was not there.
Davis and Richards bowling. That's nicely defended by Pereira, who, content with her work in the over, will see a dot ball to conclude the 11th. 61 for 3. Now then, the email inbox is open. tms@bbc.co.uk if you want to get in touch. Rod has done just that in South London. He said, hi. Last ODI, did Amy Jones achieve a women's one-day international world record for a wicketkeeper by taking 5 catches? I think other women wicketkeepers have contributed to 5 dismissals and won 6, but they included a stumping. The record didn't feature in the BBC online report, and if true, it deserves a mention. She is very good, says Rod. Phil Long, I look to you for such things.
Yeah, so 5 catches. It was I think it was a joint. I'll double check.
I think it was a
joint record, but it was a record for England. We had a quick look at the men. Adam Gilchrist, I think, took 6 catches on 3 occasions back in the day. But yeah, Amy Jones, yeah, we mentioned it earlier. Great performance from her the other day. She's already taken a catch today as well.
Right then, Charlie Dean, whose wicket maiden saw the end of Cmmentary Atapatu in the last over. She bowled. 61 for 3 is the score. With far better weather than we were expecting today, Russell. I can even see an ice cream van over to our right, Alex Hartley. Here comes Charlie Dean bowling, and that's nicely worked away off the face of the bat. That's a lovely, delicate shot down towards deep third. It's going to race towards the boundary. It'll just about get there too. That is really nice batting, all about the control, just running the ball. Off the face of the bat, and down to the boundary it goes.
Using the gaps nicely. A little bit of turn for Charlie Dean. Bowling at a nice pace. Ball going up in the air and coming down. Cmmentary Atapatu done with the quicker one. That was a big wicket and a confidence booster for Dean as well to get Atapatu as early as she did in her spell.
Dean, round arm action as the ball is tapped into the leg side by Karuna Ratne, straight to the hands of Lauren Filer, who with rather long arms and limbs wanders round to pick up.
She picked up a big wicket of Harshita Samaravickrama, who's very organised. A run thief, you'd say, poking the ball into gaps and bats deep. She's someone who plays the anchor role.
Dean bowling, defended into the offside by Karuna Ratne.
For Sri Lanka, but the way she was dismissed, Filer was bowling back of a length, not allowing her to come on to that front foot. And then suddenly she slips one up there, which probably was a nothing delivery, but the fact that she'd built up that pressure.
Dean bowling, a little bit of bounce there as this is tapped into the leg side and goes to Heather Knight at mid-wicket. 1 run taken, 66 for 3.
And one slightly fuller going away, got the edge, drew the batter in because there was nothing to hit. So that I thought was very good bowling. Not the delivery that got her, but the build-up. She had a plan.
Charlie Dean, fair hair with mid-on and mid-off up. We've got fielders in the deep. Actually, only 2 of them despite being out of the power play. Square of the wicket. As this is defended rather efficiently and correctly by Pereira. And there is no run. Pereira 8 from 10. Karuna Ratne 5 from 6. And Seema Karuna Ratne, what can you tell me? There's a name that we're reasonably familiar with. She's played a fair few games now for Sri Lanka's women as this is slashed away to the offside. And Pereira it is who'll get a single out towards cover. End of the over, 67 for 3 after 12.
Yeah, in for her first game of the tour. Coming in for Nilakshi De Silva. Hansima Karunaratne, she's 29 years old. A few days away from hitting the magical 30, just behind Alex.
Just behind Alex, yeah. Life begins at 30, I've heard. I will look forward to that moment when I get there, Russell.
From Ratnapura, that's a city amongst the hills, not in Kandy. You're very familiar with Kandy.
Yeah.
More towards Ratnapura is more down the slopes where you access the tea bushes from that area. 14 ODIs, 13 T20 internationals. Still to make a mark. She's only a high score of 28 in ODI cricket.
So this is a chance, isn't it? Just plenty of time to bat. We've only had 12 overs out of the 50. Though we did start late, half an hour late because of rain this morning. Not so late as to see any time taken out of the game. Amy Jones is standing back. Quite some distance back. I think she'll crop further forward. She will. Because Davis and Richards bowls at a lively pace, but it's never going to be express enough to really sort of threaten in the way that Filer would. It's slightly different kind of bowling. She's round the wicket to bowl to Pereira, driving into the offside. That's a nicely timed shot. There's a chase on in the deep for Alice Capsey, who fields well over to the left. And a couple of runs will be taken. 69 for 3. I can see a group of young supporters arriving. I think they might all be on a school outing today because there are some matching uniforms and they're heading towards the seats at the far end of the ground.
The forecast was totally wrong, wasn't it?
Yes.
It had 100% rain at 12 p.m, but the covers kept coming off.
Here's Davison Richards. Forward in defence is Pereira, very correctly with a high elbow. Sarah Glenn down below us is fielding at deep third, and blonde ponytail poking out of the back of the cap is being buffeted by the breeze that we have going across this ground. There's a bit of rain in the air, actually, Russell.
Can we trust it? Because my app said there's rain till 4 o'clock.
Well, I know. It all said that. Here comes Davison Richards running in and bowling a ball which is defended into the onside. So let me have a little look at the latest forecast. Yeah, there's a bit around, but it will go hopefully by about 2:30. I mean, the thing is, with all games of cricket, once you get started, it's a lot easier to just keep going rather than, it is definitely drizzling. But the problem is when you haven't started and it's drizzling, then you never see them get on with it. Here comes Davison Richards into bowl round the wicket, and again forward with a very straight bat. Oh, a bit of a mix-up, and eventually, yes, no, maybe, does see a single taken. And Heather Knight's got a bit unlucky there because there's a green mat across one of the used pitches, and as she's tried to slide to collect that ball and throw up the stumps, her knees rather jammed in it. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, in. Oh, and she'd actually almost gone underneath it. And a smile on her face as she realised that there was no way she could possibly keep her balance to throw that ball in.
Atif mentioned the Krypton factor earlier. That was a little bit like the assault course in the Krypton factor, wasn't it, where they needed to get under the under
what was he
netting.
called, the guy that did
Gordon... It's a tough one.
I can't remember. 70 for 3, 2 balls left of the 13th over. It's a little bit of a delay. Krypton factor, it was a great time for television, that. You look at more rain.
The groundsman very active. They're coming up to the boundary line with it's a little bit more than a drizzle at the moment.
Davison Richards bowling a full ball. That's a lovely drive, but straight to Nat Sivabrunt inside the circle at cover. And there is no run. And the score, 70 for 3.
For anybody shouting at the radio now or listening on BBC Sounds, Gordon Burns was the presenter of that great show. We're seeing pictures now. It's interesting. There's umbrellas out, but everyone who's not got an umbrella out is in a T-shirt.
Yeah, it's a real contrast, isn't it? It is raining reasonably steadily, but they might just carry on. Here comes Davison Richards, running in, bowling. Oh, chipped in the air into the leg side, but there's no one waiting at square leg inside the circle. It would have been the easiest of catches. Instead, Sarah Glenn running around from fine leg will pick up. And the end of the over, 71 for 3. A little glance between umpires Harris and Naeem, and here comes one of the ground staff, and I think perhaps with a hammer and nail for that loose bit of matting. Yes, it is. Because we used to have a show in this part of the world. Saturday nights was the time, called Gladiators. It's a brilliant show. It was around the same sort of time, Krypton, in fact, a bit later maybe, where members of the public would take on various athletic types and sort of physical challenges like, rope climbs and that sort of thing, or occasionally whacking each other with giant cotton buds, that sort of thing. It was superb Saturday night television, and they used to sell out arenas for it. It was sensational. Gladiators was brilliant.
I'm sure. Something different.
It was something very, very different. Here comes Charlie Dean. As this is tossed up, driven through the offside. Good stop by Capsey at cover, and there'll be no run. That was racing away to the boundary.
Would you go down?
On Gladiators? No, it was a bit sort of athletic. You'd get someone who, would clearly train for quite a long time for it. But here comes Charlie Dean running in again. As a very full delivery is defended. There was not a child of the 90s that didn't, at some stage, put a mattress on a staircase and try and recreate the Travelator. Without question. And let me tell you, here comes Charlie Dean, as this is nudged into the leg side, and there is no run. It was high quality entertainment. It was a simpler time, you see, Russell.
Because the travelator was the final obstacle, wasn't it? And it used to trip up a few people. Exhausted, they get to the bottom of that and have to climb up the travelator.
Here comes Charlie Dean, as this is tossed up, driven away to the offside, where Alice Capsey will field underneath that Blue England cap over to our left. And there is a single taken there, 72 for 3, 2 balls left of the 14th over.
Sure was simpler times. No social media, no video phones. Life was so much simpler.
It was.
Less to do, pick up a ball, play out there.
Well, I know. Here comes Charlie Dean round the wicket to the left-handed Pereira, who slices that ball past the fielder, but only the fine efforts of Maya Bouchier to stop that ball in the deep will prevent the boundary. And a good throw as well. That's as good a piece of fielding as we've seen all day.
Timed the slide to perfection, and she picked it up as the ball was passing her body. Now, if she had delayed her slide, it certainly would have been 4, but I thought the fielder at point should have done better.
Yes, I agree with that. Filer it was, but Bouchier is a really good fielder, and that was a lovely stop.
It's gotten a lot brighter out there, but it's still raining quite hard. And in the rules of cricket...
Here comes Charlie Dean. This is onto the pads, worked into the leg side. No run there, and score remains at 74 for 3 at the end of the 14th over.
As per the conditions of play, you'd say that if there's a drizzle, you're not starting a game. But you will not come off unless the umpires feel it's too heavy or too dangerous for play and it's making a big difference. But with the sun coming out stronger now...
It doesn't feel like it's set in, does it?
Yeah, it feels like it'll disappear anytime soon. And they'll try to get as much play as possible. That's for sure.
Anthony emails. They're bringing gladiators back this year. Oh, maybe my time hasn't passed for this. I can imagine Phil would be quite good at gladiators.
Yeah, I don't think we all know that's not true.
They were called things like Hunter, Falcon, Jet. It was high quality telly. Blind Date was on. Oh, it was what a time. Here comes Alice Davison-Richards working to the leg side off the pads as Karuna Ratne to get a single, her 8th run. 14.1 overs gone, 75 for 3.
With the amount of cricket that's on now and you being a cricket tragic, I'm sure you're not going to find time for those.
No. I felt quite bereft yesterday when there wasn't a game of cricket to follow in terms of the international summer that we've had.
Asia Cup, Henry.
Well, no, I know. But we've had such a rich diet of international cricket over the last couple of months. I mean, the joy is every ball of every game of the county championship you can listen to. So that's what I did with my day yesterday. Here comes Davison-Richards turning in the end. She's having to go to the back of her mark because Pereira has seen something that's distracted.
Yeah, the umpire wasn't even in position. Was tapping down the bowling mark.
Davison-Richards bowling, a little bit of lift as it's defended into the offside by Pereira. And there is no run. 75 for 3.
But it's interesting that not a lot of work going into the ball. You'd think because it's been raining, the outfield gets wet, the ball rolls on, it comes back with the soggy seam and bowlers don't like it. But the English bowlers seem to be comfortable. They just give it a rub and they're on their way. There are no towels out there.
Here comes Davison-Richards. Approach of 10 or so paces. This is defended into the ground. And there is no run.
Yeah, we were talking about the Sri Lankan batters and the Sri Lankan team, their development. Very good right now if you allow them to lean onto that front foot. But back of a length, they need to now start finding options of getting off strike.
Yeah. It's all looked very tidy, but there's not necessarily been that rotation.
So you've got to expand your game.
Here comes Davison-Richards bowling. Oh, swing and a miss. And Pereira was trying to do something a little more expansive, and it goes through quite low to Amy Jones, who crouches down to pick up.
And the number of dots that build then forces the batter to try and swing off the feet or try something different. And you end up losing your wicket. So somehow find ways to nudge it into gaps and make sure you're rotating that strike to ease the pressure.
75 for 3, 2 balls left of the 15th over. It's Pereira on strike on 14. Davis and Richardson, her third over, runs in round the wicket, drops very short. That might be too short, and one for the over is signalled by Anna Harris, who stands next to the fielder at backward point. It's Tammy Beaumont. There's one ball left of the over. And Davis and Richards, who's a bustly bowler, really. She's not going to necessarily threaten with a short pitch ball, but hustles along at a reasonable enough pace. In comes Davis and Richards once more. Round the wicket in to bowl the final ball of the over. Again, a nice solid push off the back foot, but no run. And the end of the over. 75 for 3, 15 overs gone. Russell Arnold, some more from you. And then Daniel Norcross.
We're very happy with the run rate, the Sri Lankan batters, after being put in to bat today. Of course, their preferred mode of play, get the opposition in, try and choke them and chase it down. But the 3 wickets that have fallen, Daniel, are the big ones.
They are.
3 batters who can go on and make those big scores and bat through the 50 overs. So, Karunaratne in for her first game, and Pereira have a massive job to do here.
Tell me why De Silva is not... Oh, hang on, I think someone's about to propose. Oh dear. There's a proposal going on. That's the clapping you can hear. A gentleman has gone down on one knee. He's offered a ring to a woman who has got no choice but to accept live on television. And the crowd's delighted, he's delighted. Terrific tactics from that man there. He's made sure it's entirely public. She said yes, she did. Well, romance is in the air. How fantastic. 75 for 3 after 15. De Silva. I so enjoyed watching her ever so briefly at Hove. And I thought 50 overs we might get to see her having a little bit more opportunity, but not on the side. As Dean starts a new over. Tossed up and played that and missed. Taken by Amy Jones. No run.
Didn't bat in the second or third T20 internationals, and a first ball duck up in Durham.
Yeah.
I guess Sri Lanka looking to bring in Karunaratne, and hence Lakshya De Silva.
Dean in. This is guided to backward point. No run.
Paying the price for a very lazy shot. A first ball which is on around middle and off stump, and she just glided into Amy Jones's gloves, which probably was very frustrating from coaching point of view to
All
see.
made mistakes, haven't we, Russell? And then we've seen some real potential at Hove. She really went after it in that brief innings. I know it's only 8 balls, but in that 8 balls, we saw something of her class. As this is chipped in the air back towards Dean. There's no run. You spoke earlier about the Asia Cup, and you must be absolutely delighted to see Sri Lanka have reduced India to 197 for 9. There's rain, but no worries. You come back tomorrow, of course, and finish. Oh no,
you're not coming back tomorrow.
Oh, you can't. That's right. As it's turned into the onside, there's no run because you're not Pakistan. Is that the reason?
No, there's a reserve day just for the game that was to have been played on the 10th. So it went into yesterday, and they needed all the time in the world to complete that one because of rain.
Dean in, taken on the full, driven up to mid-off. There's no run. That must be somewhat frustrating because this is the time of year when there's pretty reliable rains, aren't there?
Especially in Colombo.
But
there are areas where it wouldn't rain.
The north.
Towards the centre of the country, and
tossed up again, played into the onside, but picked up by Knight at mid-wicket. That's the end of the over, a maiden over, 75 for 3 after 16.
And the deep south, places like Hambantota and Damulla, cricket could have been played. But considering crowds and the travelling fans, especially from India and Pakistan, Colombo was the better option when you look at it from different angles.
Yeah.
But if you wanted total cricket to be played, you've got to go into the outskirts.
And is it a sort of situation that the rain arrives in the late afternoon, early evening, and that's pretty metronomic, is it? It comes and then that's no real chance of getting back, or?
Yeah, so if an early morning start would get you through.
Okay.
Come late afternoon, early evening, it does tend to cause a problem, and it's consistent.
Right.
It's consistent. That's the key.
Well, never mind. I suppose Sri Lanka remain unbeaten, even if the opportunity for an historic win may be snatched away from them by the curious regulations. As Alice Davidson-Richards is in, it's short, rises a little bit on Pereira, who pushes the ball into the onside square of the wicket. It's quite slippy and slidey out there. And it's fielded. They pick up just the one, 76 for 3. I'm been had on our gantry. It's not really miserly, it's sort of like intermittent spitting.
It's eased up now.
Yeah.
Totally clear. Even the ground staff now a lot more relaxed. Wandering off, having a chat rather than hovering by that boundary line.
ADR in. And Kevin Rattler just pushes into the onside, straight to short mid-wicket. There's no run. Runs just feel like they're drying up a little bit here, Phil Long.
Yeah, well, Charlie Dink's bowled 4 overs for 9 runs, including 2 maidens.
And picked up the wicket. The big wicket of Atapatu. Sarah Glenn below me is now warming up. She could have a big part to play here. Picked up a few wickets up at Durham. As ADR turns and runs in. Full, worked again, straight to short mid-wicket. Again, Heather Knight does the fielding again. There's no run.
Couple of days in between the 2 ODIs, played in Durham and here in Northampton. Happy bunch, the girls, just caught up with them.
They come down yet from the high of winning that T20 series?
But they are grounded. They know what they need to do. Focused on what are the possibilities. And Sunday evening, some Sri Lankans living out here treated them to a good biryani feed.
Shot in the air, down to Glenn, who takes the catch at fine leg. Karuna Rana hooking the ball, got up, a rare bouncer today, and ADR gets reward for some aggressive bowling there. Sarah Glenn was on the boundary at fine leg and had to come in 5 or 6 yards, took a comfortable catch around about knee height, the top edged hook, proffering that simple chance, and Sri Lanka have lost their 4th.
It's that length, back of a length, the batters not having too many options to get off strike or score runs. This was well directed. Just outside off stump, came back in towards Hansima Karunaratne, who got cramped, and it was just a top edge. Was talking about biryani. That looked like a pie, which Sarah Glenn gleefully accepted, made sure that she was not dropping it, but taking a bite of it.
Well, I'm sure as an elite athlete, she seldom tucks into pies, but that's for her retirement. I'm sure Catherine Sivabrunt will be able to give her advice on that in her retirement. But we're not expecting a retirement, surely, from Sarah Glenn. But it was a well-taken catch, and it's reward for occasionally banging the ball in a bit shorter. And I want to ask you this about Sri Lankan women. I mean, it's tough enough, Sri Lankan pitches, when England's men go out there, frequently find that the seamers may bowl very few overs, 8 to 10 overs at the top, and then spin comes into play. So do the Sri Lankan women get much practice against a short ball? I mean, a ball that gets up around shoulder height. I imagine that there aren't too many Sri Lankan women bowlers who are bowling that sort of length on those sorts of pitches.
The boundaries today, Harsita Samaravikrama just carved one off the back foot. Other than that, any ball that was pitched up went.
Yep.
Whoever it was, not only Atapatu. So they're very good and very comfortable just going on to that front foot. So the moment you bowl back of a length, they're still drawn into the front foot and then adjusting their bodies to negotiate the length. So they're actually late in deciding on that length. So you're right, a lot more practice against the shorter deliveries need to come in. Now there are practical issues. You mentioned the pitch is one thing. And do Sri Lankan women's game, to the Sri Lankan women's game, have bowlers who can bowl that. Udeshika Prabodhani is the best Sri Lankan seamer here, who swings that ball, moves it around, but probably bowls around 100 to 105 k's an hour.
Yes.
And at that speed, you're not going to be rushing anyone. Even if you get onto that front foot, you can still adjust and play.
She's not the tallest, as well as she said, to get that angle. You know, you look at ADR and Lauren Filer and Mahika Gore, of course. They have that extra height that
and
allows
the
that
ability to hit the deck. So Sri Lanka don't have that. They do have to now find ways to expand their game and come up against answers to different skills.
I mean, it's one of the things that's so impressive about Atapatu is that against a short ball, she looks pretty comfortable to me. I mean, I've seen her many times hit shorter balls, square the wicket on the leg side, big hits. But she is a kind of a class apart. I mean, she's a class apart in women's cricket generally. She's a
But even
top
Atapatu prefers to
drive,
get on to that front foot straight away, and if it's short, she's powerful enough, her base is strong, that she's able to pick it up from there.
Kavisha Dilhari's a new baton. She's greeted with another bouncer. I think ADR has worked out something here.
But if you're talking totally about back foot play, it's not the strongest. getting right on that back foot, getting behind it and punching it.
We did see one, as you say, there was one beautiful shot off Lauren Filer through backward point, but I suppose there was a little bit more width on that, so being able to get leg side of the ball as ADR's in again, and this is nicely glanced down to long leg. Sarah Glenn's after it, but Amy Jones will get there first. It only just creeps outside the circle, a backward square leg position. They get through for a single. 77 for 4. Slower ball. Where's Sarah Glenn? Says Catherine Silverbright. She can come on and ask us that. 77 for 4. Dilhari yet to score. That must have been given as a leg by. Pereira has 15. We're just talking about bowling short to the Sri Lankans,
Yes.
Catherine, and I imagine you must have done that a fair bit in your time.
I have actually, quite a lot. Normally the captain gives the nod. She's like, and points at the head.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
is that how it works?
But you have to do it when their back's turned, obviously, or else I think they'll know what that means.
You need to come up with a much, much better
Subtle.
code than that.
We did actually. It's quite funny the things that you do when you're bored
Oh, yeah.
on tour and stuff, and you're coming up with signals and.
Tell me about this, because you see, in baseball, there are so many weird
It's great,
signals, aren't
isn't
there?
it?
Fingers
Like
everywhere.
actual sign language, yeah.
It is, yeah. As Dean starts a new over into Dilhari with a slip in place. She bowls wide and full, and it's given us a wide. It just may have slipped out slightly. Umpire Harris
Slightly.
signals wide, ever so slightly. It was sort of, I think she tried to push it through a bit quicker. It flew out of her hands, wide of the off stump, but taken by Jones. One more to the total. Next delivery is full and pushed into the offside, picked up in the covers by Tammy Beaumont. So, what sort of signals would you have? Would they be hand signals, or would they be verbal
Oh
signals?
no! So one, I would scratch my bum.
Okay, Dean in. This is edged and dropped. A really sharp chance.
That would have been a
Tonight.
beauty.
Oh, it slipped. Yeah, it went
went
very
quick.
hard to her. She juggled it. She got it. It rebounded out of her hands, and I thought she was going to get it on that rebound.
It was a big drive, wasn't it? Big
Yeah,
drive.
it's a big old
Oh.
push.
Oh, no.
It's a firm, well-timed push that's hit the base of the right thumb, then bounced onto the chest of Knight, who then flailingly groped forward as the next ball's pushed to backward point and straight to the field.
It's
as
one
no
of them
run.
where you need it in the middle of your palm, doesn't it, and it's going to stick. But, I mean, credit to Heather. She kept her weight forward there. Normally, you'd literally be sat on your hind.
Oh, it's agonising,
She did in
nearly
the
on
end.
the rebound.
In sheer disbelief.
Dean in, tossed up and driven back to the bowler, who takes the simplest of catches. And she gets Dilhari. The drop doesn't matter. Sri Lanka have lost their 5th. They're 78 for 5. And a little bit like at Durham, this rather brittle middle order is gradually caving in.
She's looking really good, Charlie Dean, today. She's definitely making a call for being back into the old team, isn't she? But
Yeah.
the control she has, and my favourite thing about Charlie is the way that she controls the pace. She's changing her pace all the time so that the batters can't settle. The girls just played too early on that and chipped it straight back to her, but not surprisingly, because the one prior to that was quicker and did carry to slip. But yeah, she's very canny like that.
Got a bit of turn as well, didn't
Yeah,
she?
she did.
That took the inside half of the bat.
And actually on closer inspection, really good seam presentation as well. So yeah, she's been left out the side, which I know she absolutely hates. So
Good.
this is her opportunity to tell them why they need to not leave her out.
Well, she should hate it. Phil, I haven't checked in with you for a while. Anything you want to contribute, or are you still busy digesting your gigantic lunch?
I've not had my lunch yet, then I don't have time to eat. Come on. I'll be having a cold curry between breaks.
He has it so tough, Catherine. So
To be
tough.
fair, there's bags full of dross back here if you want.
Dean in first ball, beats the outside edge. Well taken by Jones. Sanjeevani groping into thin air again, and Dean is on a roll here. She's got 2 for 10.
She's just too good today, isn't she?
Oh, well,
For them?
it's 2 maidens into her 5th over, and we're thinking it's the pace and bounce that'll
Yeah.
be a problem, but Dean's been the star so far. She's in from 4 or 5 paces and tosses this up again, invites the drive that goes up to mid-off, and there is no run. End of the over, a successful one, 78 for 5, 18 overs gone off that bright start from Sri Lanka. They really got out of the traps nicely, but wickets have been falling at regular intervals.
It was a promising start, wasn't it, to the game, but they really have been chewing a lot of balls since Chamari got out, and I think the demise of Chamari in the end was the fact that she was starting to chew balls herself. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a 300 run
I think
total to chase, is it? But at this rate, it's not even going to be 120. So,
well,
yeah.
that's the danger, and I think, you know, watching women's cricket evolve over the last 7 or 8 years, the most striking thing has been how the depth of batting has improved so much. But Sri Lanka are a kind of emerging nation, and that it's not quite so true of them, as ADR continues, right arm round the wicket, bowls a full ball defended by Pereira, back to the bowler on the front foot for no run.
I understand, right, obviously we said at the beginning that England are bowling first because they want to crush the series. They want to take the series and win as, you know, convincingly as they can. But that's all good and well. But where's the challenge? Like, if it's going to be like this, why are they not batting for 50 overs and really doing what it is that they want to do, which is expose these youngsters and give them time at the crease? Like, are we going to have a chase 120 overs again? Or
well,
is that what we really need moving forward and giving these girls experience?
You know better than me, but I have a theory. This is my theory. As Davidson Richardson again, this is full, driven through the gap between point and cover out towards the sweeper on the offside. Nice looking shot for a single, moves to 16, 79 for 5. My theory is this, that the T20 loss was so catastrophic that in the one days they have to win the first 2, simple as.
Yeah.
Before they, and I think at Leicester, if they win the toss, they would bat.
Yeah, I mean, that's when the safe time to do that experimenting is obviously the time, but this would be the braver option.
You're right.
Really put yourself under some pressure.
ADR bowls forward in defence, comes Sanjeevani, and they're pushed out to the offside. There's no run. You see, you're talking to a man who actually has a Nobel Prize in cowardice. So I can totally understand where England are coming from here.
I know, it's like, why don't they carry on in the way that they started the T20 series, which was to be brave, play younger people, leave key people out, and keep following on with that. That would have been the better option for me.
Oh, Boulder! Short, didn't get up. Sanjeevani stuck on the crease. The ball goes, I think, between bat and pad and clatters into the stumps. Zing bails light up. There may have been a little bit of inside edge, you think? She's played on the front foot for a start to a short ball and really gone nowhere. Well, take a look at this again.
Cross seam.
Hasn't got up. She has got a thick inside edge, and that's cannoned back onto a middle stump. Feet didn't really go anywhere.
She loves bowling those cross seamers, Alice. She hopes that they'll have a bit more jump in it.
She's a very expressive cricketer, isn't she? She gives you a lot of facial expressions when she takes a wicket.
Not good ones either.
Well,
Sanjeevani, did she open the batting last game? The wicket keeper,
yes.
isn't it?
Yes. So, I mean,
Coming in at number, what, 6 today? 6, 7?
7, I think. So, I mean, this is something that Alex Hardy mentioned earlier, that there's just no consistency in the batting order, so you don't quite know if you're a Sri Lankan batter what your role
Where
is,
you are.
what you're doing.
That's my most hated thing.
Yeah?
And probably the most moaned about thing since I've been a part of the England team is not knowing your role clarity.
Oh, yeah.
And because they always obviously drill into you, you must be adaptable, adapt to any situation or role.
Do they do that
Sign
in
of
a
a great
robotic voice?
cricketer. I'm just
Yes.
doing, like, you know, the speech.
Which voice are
with
you
the
doing?
finger wagging. I'm just, you know.
With the finger wagging.
It is. It's like teacher, isn't it? I always felt like never like an adult.
Right. ATR in, round the wicket. New batter in, and it's pulled down to fine leg. And they get a singer. It's a Shardy run a singer. Who's the new bat?
You do win. Oh, go on, Phil.
Very
Sorry,
quickly, yeah. Sri Lanka have lost wickets on 76, 78, 79. They've lost 3 for 3, and that came with 13 balls.
Crikey. Devastating part of the game.
It is. I'm scared now that you'll think I'm a teacher. You just come and do what you want. You be as naughty as you like all day.
And that's the thing
You're
about
free.
retiring is I can do what I want when I want.
Yeah.
I can wear what I want. It's
That's
weird.
ADR is in. That's short. Bouncer goes quite low to Amy Jones. There's no run. And I can just feel the frisson of a petrified producer behind me and Charlotte Swift, who has heard you saying that you can do whatever you want. That is,
She's
of
not
course.
listening, don't worry.
She
Phased out. She's had enough of us.
Get away with anything now. absolutely, literally anything.
Absolutely not.
So did you? It's interesting you should say that about feeling like you're sort of being lectured to, because it's one of the things that I notice as a difference between men's and women's cricket, and I'm hoping that that is changing. It's certainly changing in the football, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Lionesses coach. Did you feel like you were sort of schoolgirls being corralled around?
100%. I've always felt like I'm just told what to do, what to wear, where to go at what time, what to say sometimes in media. Sometimes you were literally told what to say and you couldn't be your own person.
Dean in, right arm round the wicket. This is pushed back to the bowler. There's no run.
And after so many years, you just feel like a child, and you think to yourself, I think I'm 26. Why am I still being talked to like I'm at school still?
Dean in. This is pushed back.
And it is
into short extra cover. There's no run.
a very strange thing to be a part of. You don't really think about it much when you're, 21 to 25, because now I'm on the outside looking in, and I just think, what on earth?
Dean in again. It's his cut to point. There's no run. Do you think it's different for the men?
I would say.
Brendan McCullum doesn't look like much of a teacher, does he?
From what I've heard, it's very different, yes. And it is very different now. I'll guarantee you that. This was more sort of in my first 10 years.
Dean in. This is pushed out into the covers. Now get a single out towards the sweeper on the offside for a single. I wonder if part of it was because when you were actually allowed to do what you wanted to do, do you remember the first time I ever met you? You gave me an interview at Wormsley in 2014. And I won't go into the details of the interview.
Oh, no.
But suffice
it's all
to say...
flooding back.
Suffice to say...
Yeah, and did you see the media manager sprinting over?
Beth Barrett-Wild. This is swept at, and it's going to go fine behind the keeper. They're going to get a single. They think of a second. It is not there. It's a bit of a mix-up, but... luckily, Pereira and Ranasinghe are back. 82 for 6. Yes, you gave me a wonderful, very insightful interview. So insightful that Beth Barrett-Wild is now very important in the Women's 100, was listening on the other side of the ground at Wormsley. And
of course she was.
And then suddenly, something you said, which I'm not going to go into, caused her to run at full pelt
it wasn't even
to get you off air. It's just a late cut. Nicely played, but can't beat the fielder at backward point.
It's
There's
a memorable
no run.
story. So that's all that matters. But yeah, we literally used to get a script of what to say.
You keep going with that. I'm sorry, I'm going to be teacherly now. You keep going with that.
I will. I'll tell you a story.
I've got to get off because Artif's coming on. I'm going to listen to it from behind, but Artif is coming on.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. So one of the examples of what I'm talking about is I went on holiday for the first time, my own holiday, my own organised one. And I say I organised it, Nat organised it. And I went with a couple of friends, Amy Jones and Laura Marsh at the time. And we got to the airport, and because I'd been told where to go, what terminal, what time, and had reminders, and actually just followed the group all the way to the gate.
Yeah.
Well, we all missed our flight.
When you had to do it independently?
When I had to do it independently.
Without anybody telling you,
Yep.
you got to be at this gate at this time and all that stuff?
Correct. Very costly mistake, but that is just an example of literally doing your own thing and functioning as a human being.
I hope you're getting good support from the BBC in finding these places. Here is Sarah Glenn now into the attack. Beats the outside edge with the very first ball. Pereira just prodding at that one outside the off stump. There's no run.
Now, there's apps for these things now that constantly go off reminding you to go to gate, whatever, in 5 minutes or you will be left behind.
But then the gate is sometimes the other end of the airport. What do you do? What do you do? As that ball's been worked away behind square in the leg side, they'll take a single. 83 for 6. Yeah, it's definitely happened to me before where I've cut it a little bit fine, and then you'll find out that oh, don't worry, you can make it. You got like half an hour, but the gate is like a 60-minute walk away. The other side of the airport, you have these ginormous airports. And
It is. It's not easy.
yeah, and to be honest, it's not a great look for me to run through an airport. Right, Sarah Glenn in. So full delivery's been driven out towards deep extra cover,
Yes.
and they'll take a single.
The introduction of Sarah Glenn. I've been calling for this. She's one of our... I think this is probably why she hasn't had a ball till now, because we know what she can do. We've seen it, haven't we? She's a wicket taker. She's very good at holding line and length, and it is a bit of a challenge for the Sri Lankans.
Yeah. And she comes again. Another ball takes a thick outside edge this time to backward point.
I would like to see a gully as well at this point. I think... I mean, there's absolutely 84 for 6. We've got every opportunity to
Certainly for
take some
Ranasinghe,
risks.
at the very
Absolutely.
least. New batter, 3 off 7.
Correct.
And here's Glenn into a Pereira who has a wild swing of that ball. Amy Jones knocks the bills off very quickly.
Well,
there were shouts of oohs and ahs around the stumps. No run in the end.
We know naturally, obviously, leg spinners will bring their ball back into the left-hander, but in this case, Sarah Glenn actually bowls more wrong-uns than she does.
Yeah.
She's not actually a traditional leg spinner at all.
Here she comes again. Lots of flight on this. Onto a leg stump line driven as far as mid-wicket.
So if I'm being honest, I want to see one of these two out on the leg side.
Yeah.
One beats obviously deep backward square and then deep mid-wicket. One of them come in to gully, probably Natalie, and entice that sweep, make them play across the line.
Yeah.
And when someone's on 18 off 32 and 3 off 7, I think you've got a bit of license to play. I think it's a very defensive thing for me. When you've got all the chance to be as aggressive as you like.
Do you think they're resting a little bit on their laurels, just like they're counting on the fact that wickets are just going to come from a very
and they
sort of
will,
baseline strategy?
But
yeah.
Now's the time. You don't know how many times you got the luxury of this.
Here's Charlie Dean again. Lots of flight on this. Driven up a thick outside edge to backward point. There's no run. Just the one slip in place.
And even now, yeah. You've got the right-handed Charlie Dean, who's actually turning the ball to a left-hander. Why not put 2 in there as well?
It's been so impressive today. Figures of 2 for 12 from her 6.1 overs. As then she comes, that ball's been pushed to cover. Again, there is no run. Lots of noise from the England players as well, making a good atmosphere for themselves, creating a bit of intimidation almost. As here is Charlie Dean into Ranasinghe, who chips this uppishly out towards mid-wicket, but there is no run. Really struggling to get the ball off the square at the moment, Sri Lanka.
I can't say I know Ranasinghe much, but I do know that Charlie Dean is hard to sweep. So if a sweep is her favoured shot, then bring him up.
That's a short ball's been chipped off a top edge just to backward point. Again, there is no run. That's 63 balls since the last boundary now.
And you're not seeing them play any shots that are risky. Like they're poking and prodding, and which is causing enough trouble as it is.
Well, earlier in the innings, you saw, even with the early wickets falling, you still saw Cmmentary Atapattu and Samara Vikrama just going after the bowling a little bit, especially when it was in their area. But right now, it's kind of shut up shop by the Sri Lankans as that ball's been played to backward point. Again, there is no run.
Nice change of pace from Charlie Dean there, a lot quicker, a bit shorter. She's got the cover out, deep cover, and that's fair enough. Keep that out there, because that seems to be the one when you've got a slip and you've got to hang that outside off stump a little bit. So I'd like to see the sweep come up and play a different shot.
As another defensive shot just to backward point completes a maiden for Charlie Dean. She's been incredible today, just brilliant. 2 wickets for 12, 7 overs bowled. Sri Lanka 84 for 6 off 22. Bill?
Yeah, 3 maidens for Charlie Dean. The last 8 overs have gone for 10 runs.
Wow.
But it's too easy.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, they're not prepared to take a risk. So you've got to at least plant the seed in their mind. She might still not try and sweep if you bring the sweep up, but you've put it in her mind.
Yeah.
And at one point, she will get bored. There will be a stage where something will happen. So
you want to see a shot in anger?
Yeah, absolutely.
84 for 6 Sri Lanka after 22. Here's Sarah Glenn to continue as that ball's been worked just in front of mid-wicket. It's a non-striker Ranasinghe really wanted to run, but she was sent back by Pereira. No run. This procession of dot balls is continuing at the moment.
Yeah, I do feel like Ranasinghe would have had the information to go in there, talk to your teammate, and look at knocking it around for once, build that innings, get yourselves in. But as you can see, even that's not an option right now. So pressure's really building, isn't it?
Yeah, Sarah Glenn's just grabbed a little towel to give the ball a bit of a wipe. Maybe it's a little bit damp out there in patches still as in she comes. Lots of flight, driven wide of the fielder at cover. They're running through for a quick single.
Oh,
shy at the stumps. A direct hit and she would have been long gone.
I'm wondering if she'd have left that alone.
Yeah, Sarah Glenn got between the throw and the wickets and you think...
It's the most annoying thing and you're like, leave it! Let's have a look.
Ball was like... it went across very quickly and the throw came in. Oh, I don't know. I think maybe...
I wonder.
Yeah, but Sarah Glenn actually very athletically took the ball. You really want to get behind the stumps, really. She was kind of offering it up like an apple as the next ball's been driven to cover for no run.
We had the stump cam there practically looking up Sarah Glenn's nose, but it is a skill. You've got to have your foot on the stump so that you know within where it is within relation to your hands.
Like in baseball?
Yeah, if your foot isn't, if not by the stump.
As the next ball's played defensively into the covers, there is no run.
if your foot's not by the stump, you're not in range.
Yeah.
You can't expect to swing your hands back and find the bails on the stumps. So, yeah, that was not a good technique from Sarah Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see them sort of like the bowler trotting on the stumps a little bit, and then you have to take the whole wicket out, and it adds a split second longer. I don't know. There's a short. It's been cut nicely, and that is going to be the first boundary for a very, very long time. Terrific shot from Ranasinghe. It was short and put away behind deep backward point, and the score now moves on to 89 for 6. It feels like, Phil, that was the first boundary after something like 70 balls, but
Yeah, 11.1 was the last boundary. We're now into the 23rd over. Yeah.
The bread and butter, that shot, I think. It's a favoured shot, very deep in the crease. Waited really late, played that nicely between, I believe, Tammy Beaumont and Heather Knight. Oh, Alice Capsey.
Alice Capsey, Heather Knight in the slips, as here's Glenn again. That ball's defended back to her direction as there is no run.
We've not seen Alice Capsey yet, so I'm sure she might have a little, but she might not though, because I do think she had a back spasm a day or so ago, so I think she could be resting from bowling today.
Do you think there's, like, you would like to see more experimentation from England a little bit? This scenario
Absolutely,
is very
in
controlled.
the field.
89 for
100%.
6. You know, you want them to take some chances.
Yeah.
There's, you know, ODI World Cups coming up in 2025 in India, I believe, and in next year is the T20 World Cup in Bangladesh. So
When do teams have the freedom to put two slips in for a spinner?
yeah,
Not often. And when you get the opportunity to, why not? This team, he's always about, right, how do we be aggressive when we bat? How do we take wickets when we bowl? That's his mantra. Well, I didn't see the last 5-6 overs where we're being extremely aggressive trying to take wickets. We have been aggressive, but not as aggressive as we could be.
here's Filer now into Pereira, who defends the ball back to the bowler. There is no run. And the other thing, Catherine, is like if they allow Sri Lanka to just accumulate, even if it's sort of 3 runs and over from here, that's another 81 runs, I believe. So another 81 runs. That's 170, and all of a sudden it's something to bowl
It's
at.
something, isn't it? And if conditions change or whatever, the lights come on, things can happen.
Here's Filer again. This is short. It's been cut aerially straight to backward point. Who's put it down? Oh dear. Well, that was as straightforward as chances get. Tammy Beaumont at backward point. Ball came straight to her. And she's put it down.
She's normally very good in there. She's always loved fielding at point, but she has misfielded a couple in there that I know when I saw her head went to the sky, she was fuming, and then when this opportunity's come along, it's straight in, to be honest, into the bread basket and down.
Just a little late to respond to it. Here's Filer again to Pereira, who drives along the ground this time. And a nice dual effort from the fielders at point.
And when I say, like, obviously I'm speaking like quite annoyed about the fields, but nothing's happening.
No.
It's not costing us any runs, and we're still taking wickets, but I just feel like that's the bit I'd like us to switch to quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at Maya Bouchier there, who was sort of grimacing at cover as the next ball's played into the onside for no run. She was sort of like rubbing her,
She's soft. I know what she'll have done. She dived on a bit of a bare patch of one of the squares, one of the strips on the square, and it's quite dry there.
So you get a little grass burn type thing.
Yeah, she's burnt her skin. I've seen her having a little peek of the hip. The hip bones really do get it.
Oh.
It's not good.
Well, you said it, she was soft, not me. I just want that very, very clear for the record. Here we go. Lauren Filer in again. There's a short, cut nicely behind backward point, and
I'm only joking.
yeah, there's a single to deep third. Yeah, of course. And Sri Lanka on to 90 for 6 now. So they're just slowly accumulating. I mean, there was that boundary last over, which sort of broke that rut, and they're thinking if they can just get something to bowl at, something to work with, lights, a bit of weather around, you never know.
It feels like they think it's such a drastic situation that they're only going to take bad balls.
Yeah. Now come ready from England. Well, that was a bad ball. It's full toss outside the off stump. Thick outside edge,
well
driven
fielded.
at. An amazing sliding stop at deep third. Really, really good piece of work in the deep.
Sarah Glenn,
indeed. And prevents the boundary. In fact, it only got a single for that. It's very poor delivery.
It did go there pretty quick.
Yeah.
It was a full toss. Outside edge went really quickly down to Sarah. Full length dive. Pouched it in the right hand. Is very good from her. She's worked on her fielding a lot. She does know when she first came into the team, she was lacking quite a lot behind everyone in that regard, and she knew her way into the team because her bowling was getting her in, was very good. When she first made her debut, she couldn't stop taking wickets, but that was the one thing keeping her back from choosing her and Sophie in the squad together.
Who impressed you in the field the most of the players you played with?
Over 20 years or recent times?
Recent times.
I'm going to say
We can go
that's
over
a
20
big
years. I think that might be
question.
fun.
Well, first of all, Lydia Greenway, absolutely exceptional.
Here's Sarah Glenn now. Lots of flight, beats the outside edge and actually bamboozles the keeper as well.
Was that drop, maybe?
Possibly. I mean, it might have taken the outside. You'll have to look at a replay.
Or maybe a stump, a fraction of a stumping chance. I don't know. Let's have a look.
Very expressive facial expression from Sarah Glenn. And I think it might have got a little outside edge. As the next ball angles in, it's worked to backward square leg. There is no run.
Rangasinghe lifted her foot for a fraction of a second, but I'm not sure if there was an edge in there.
See, it's Amy Jones, right? You have high expectations.
Jones, yeah,
so Lydia
absolutely.
Greenway was one of the best.
Best in the world, probably the best I've ever seen.
Wow. Here's Sarah Glenn again. This is short pull mightily away out towards mid-wicket. I think it's going to get there. Yeah, there's a dive out in the deep. But she was never really going to get anywhere near it. 4 more to the score for Sri Lanka. And Ranasinghe now on to 12 of 21.
Definitely only waiting on these bad balls, aren't they? Not prepared to take any risks. I think even they've realised dropping and running is quite dangerous at the minute because England really are squeezing, but they are taking every opportunity these bad balls, which we're not doing often, so yeah.
They do hit them really well. 95 for 6 Sri Lanka after 24.3. Here's Glenn. And that's a much better delivery. Just been defended on the front foot by Ranasinghe into the offside. There's no run.
Recent times, Nat is a very good all-round fielder. So she's extremely good, like our best boundary catcher.
See, I'm going to be honest. I thought you were going to say her first.
What did you?
Yeah.
Oh well, you didn't ask me what genre. Did you?
Oh
genre?
Yes, of course, genre.
Yeah.
The genre of field. I love that. That is good. I like a good murder mystery myself. Driven to extra cover. There's no run.
She's all-round. So obviously, there's fielders who literally just can't go from one position to another because it would just kill them. So I think Charlie Dean's excellent at extra cover, excellent. But if I was to put her at mid on, mid off, it would be like, whoa. It would be like she couldn't adapt to that. It is different. People don't understand the angles, the way the ball comes to you trajectory-wise.
Yeah, as that ball's a sweep shot attempted, a big appeal for LBW, and the umpire's finger goes up. Sarah Glenn has the breakthrough. It's Ranasinghe who's going to have to go, looking to sweep. She immediately reviews. Sri Lanka 7 down, at least until this review, of course. 95 for 7. Look pretty straight to me.
The sweep, that's what I've been calling for them to try and do something other than, cut or play straight.
Yeah, but she tried and got out.
Exactly. That's what I mean from an England's perspective. This is what they should have been trying to do to her since she came in.
Yeah, England,
from ball 1.
There's shades already of Durham in this match, with England taking a very one-sided lead in this game. Let's take a little look at it. It pitches outside off. It hits in front of off for me. Now, it's just about if it holds its line enough and doesn't go past the next stump. Or
is there any glove? I doubt that, but it's the only thing for me that could save her.
Let's have a little look. A great slow-motion replay of the pivot from Sarah Glenn as she turns around and reviews.
Amy Jones, wicket-keeper, stood still.
Yeah,
the good sign of a keeper not going down leg side always helps the bowler, doesn't it?
Also, quite pleasingly, they were both in sync there a little bit. Amy Jones and Heather Knight at first slip. They were just sort of like in identical positions, like synchronized appealers. But here we go. We're waiting for Ultra Edge. Here we go. We now have Ultra Edge. The ball is passing the bat. There's no bat involved. Oh, no glove either. So straight into the pads. All we need is a bit of ball tracking, and we'll know if Sri Lanka are indeed going to remain 7 down, 95 for 7.
That's plum for me.
Let's go. Here we go. We've got ball tracking, pitching outside, impact in line, and the ball is just clipping the leg stump. So his umpire's called. The review will be retained by Sri Lanka, but the batter will be dismissed.
No way.
I know. We thought it'd be a lot more conclusive than that. Give us your thoughts on that wicket and how far Sri Lanka can go from here. There's 95 for 7 of 25 overs, and Henry Moran's going to come in, and after your thoughts, Alex Hartley's going to replace you as well.
Lovely. All-round change, yeah. I thought that was crashing into leg, so a bit more surprising for me that it did more than it actually seemed to do, but plum is plum. Umpire's call is still out, and from here I'm not really sure how much more Sri Lanka produce in terms of a total. They've got 25 overs to bat, which is a hell of a long time. Like I said, I used to relish in these opportunities. I'd love 25 overs to bat. Numbers 8 and 9 lining up. Get me out there.
You filled so well there. Well,
Get my 50 debut.
Well, I know.
A maiden 50, I mean.
Did you not score an ODI
In
50?
fact, yes. Of course I have. How dare you? Phil, I'd like to ask the batters coming in now, 9, 10, 11, any 50s amongst, because that would be...
This feels like it's time for a Catherine Brunt, Jenny Gunn
the hard-fought, slogged, I'm going to make you feel 50 overs type of 50. Best ones.
Those are the best ones. You filled that beautifully as well, because I managed to get the entire headphone cord tangled around this wheelie chair. And wheelie chairs have all these extra little appendages that you can sort of get things tangled around.
Wheelie awkward.
Stop it. Here comes Lauren Filer round the wicket as this is driven straight to backward point. Hello, Hartles. How are you?
I really enjoyed that.
I've really enjoyed it. It's the way that he delivered it and sort of literally mic dropped. He put his microphone back down again, grabbed his pen and carried on with his day. It was sensational.
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. Not bad. It's sort of drizzling outside, but it's kind of been like that all day.
Yeah, it's just not stopped drizzling,
No.
has it?
That's fine. We can deal with that. Here comes Lauren Filer round the wicket, in again, and this is rather cramping Pereira for room. She's been there 41 deliveries now, but has offered England stout resistance, I think it's fair to say. She's done very well indeed. 95 for 7.
When I was last on air, the run rate was 5.9, and Chamari Atapatu just got out and I said, it's going to get boring.
Well, yes, it depends. Well, it's sort of been intriguing on a certain level. Here comes Filer, the wicket. It's defended into the ground, and the ball is dropped at backward point by Tammy Beaumont, picking it up at the second attempt, and there is no run. What about that proposal then, Al?
Yeah, well, I was meant to be there.
Were you?
But we missed it.
Did you?
Whoops.
So what, you got forewarned that there was going to be a proposal?
Yes, got told this morning. Honestly, if my partner ever did that, I'm telling him to pack his bags and leave.
Really?
Not in public, come on.
Did you not like that? Here
At
comes
Northampton.
Filer bowling, and this is slashed away. Lovely shot from Pereira. The ball crashed away through the covers, hitting away on the up, and it was there square on that boundary in a heartbeat. 99 for 7.
It's a great shot from Pereira. Slightly fuller from Lauren Filer, and we've seen the fuller balls today. They have been pumped, they have been dismissed. And that one, in front of backward point, raced to the boundary. That's a right shot.
That's a great shot, that. Really nicely put away. There is a slip in place, so England still showing this aggressive field. There's now 4 on the boundary, though, as Maya Boucher goes out to field a deep cover. In comes Filer. Running in once more. It's a fuller delivery again. Pushed towards cross at mid-off.
Yeah, regarding the proposal, I was slightly worried for Stephen Finn, just in case there was a no.
Well, we
It
sort
could
of
have been awkward.
We wanted a no, because then it would have been really awkward, wouldn't it?
Well, this is the thing.
And also, he put the ring on the wrong finger 3 times.
What?
Yeah, I
It's
think.
quite famous. It's known as the ring finger.
Yeah, he panicked, I think. He went index, middle, wrong ring finger.
Right. Here comes Filer, dropping it short. That might be too short. No, not according to umpire Anna Harris. It's 1 for the over, 99 for 7. The thing is, actually, the end of the over, 26 gone. The danger always is, what if they say no?
Well, no, that's why you don't do it in public.
No, I know. I mean,
But I know a lot of people say yes and then they end up breaking up because they meant no. I think a lot of people say yes in the moment because they're like, oh.
Oh, what, because you can't not, really?
Especially in front of loads of people.
Yeah. I just think it's unusual to forewarn multiple broadcasters what you're going to do.
Very strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very strange.
So what you're saying is, for your other half...
If he does that, he's in the bin.
Why? It's romantic. I think of that. You know, what about Derby on a Tuesday? Here comes Sarah Glenn, and this is onto the pads of the new batter Prabhadani. No run.
It's difficult for us because we're 2 romantics, aren't we?
I know we are.
But Hardy's not quite in that category.
Tell you what could beat Derby on a Tuesday.
Go on.
Derby on your 30th. He could have topped it off with a marriage proposal,
He
couldn't
could have done, yeah. Here comes Sarah Glenn, lots of air on that, defended by Prabhadani. Well, you did say on the podcast yesterday, on No Balls, available now on BBC Sounds with Mahika Gore, you did just drop into the fact that he'd got you a ring for your birthday. And I thought that required qualification. I was quite excited. Oh, not the other hand.
No, I didn't just... No.
Right, here comes Glenn bowling to Prabhadani, defended down the track, and there is no run. 99 for 7. I think they're sitting over there at the front of that stand at the far end of the ground, aren't they? What a celebration. Well done there.
Congratulations.
It's fab news. Here comes Sarah Glenn. That's so much air that it's met on the full, and I think perhaps a top order player might have hit that away out of the ground, but Prabhadani, early in her innings, just happy to nudge it back towards the bowler. Sarah Glenn's bowled 3.4 overs, 1 for 11 so far. She's creeping in now and bowled to Prabhadani, who again leans forward in defence. There is no run. It's quite slow going at the moment out.
Yeah.
Maybe we need another proposal to liven things up.
Yeah, sure. If you're thinking about it, come to Northampton.
Here comes Sarah Glenn. In past the umpire now, and Prabhadani, again, defending, into the onside. And a maiden over for Sarah Glenn.
There was a run there, though.
There was a run there. Easy.
So do you want to score a decent score, or are you just going to try and bat 50 overs?
Well, they've batted 27 so far. 7 down, Sri Lanka. And yeah, I do think it's a slightly difficult position because, on the one hand, they're thinking about getting into a kind of defendable total. And on the other hand, very aware of the fact that playing aggressive shots is quite likely to lead to wickets falling. So are you better off getting to 40 overs and then trying to unleash? Phil?
Back end of the power play, 10 overs gone there. Sri Lanka 53 for 3. They're now 99 for 7. So the last 17 overs have produced 46 runs.
Mervin's been in touch on the email, Alex. Mervin's not happy.
Yes, Merv.
And here comes Filer round the wicket, full delivery, defended by Pereira into the onside. Mervyn says there wasn't a game in Durham. The match was played in, capital letters, Chesterler Street, a town in County Durham. The venue was the Riverside Ground. England have never played a game in Durham, a city in County Durham. What is it that you find so difficult? Well, I think I would say, while you are absolutely correct on all levels, Mervyn.
Got to be in your bonnet, haven't you, Merv?
Here comes Filer round the wicket. And this is short, swaying out of the way as Pereira. It's a good hostile ball from Filer, 74 miles an hour. I think that sometimes you might say, England are, like today, we might say England are playing Sri Lanka at Northants.
We're not in Northampton. I mean, we are, but we're not in the city of Northampton.
We are, but that's not the point
No,
I'm
we're
making.
not. I had to get a taxi here. I was staying in the city.
Yeah, but you might be staying in London, but you might still have to get a taxi across London.
Yeah, but London's a lot bigger.
Even me, I suppose. Here comes Filer, round the wicket again, and this... a length keeps a little low and defended. But I think the point is you might refer to the county, and when you talk about Durham as a county in cricketing terms, you say Durham. So England.
Oh no, because at Durham don't play at Durham then, do they?
What?
Chesterley Street play at Chesterley Street.
No, Durham play at Chesterler Street. But you might say, England are playing the next women's T20 is at Essex. In the same as you might say, it's at Durham. So
yeah.
I think that is kind of the terminology. That's all I'm saying. Here comes Filer, round the wicket and bowling a ball which is clipped into the leg side, and Nat Sivabrunt picks up and fields at mid-wicket. I do get it, though, Mervyn, because it is a point that is sometimes confused by those discussing.
Don't get him started on the 100 teams, then.
Right, that's a conversation for another day, perhaps, Alex. It's not, you're in a...
I'm in a wind-up mood.
You are.
aren't I?
You're in a punchy sort of mood. It's always boring for us all. Here comes Filer with elbows jutting out, and she runs in now past the umpire, round the wicket, and a beamer. This is slashed away down towards deep third. It's actually rather well played by Pereira, and it's surely going to be a no ball, I would have thought. And the 100 is up for Sri Lanka, and with a slash down towards the boundary. 27.5 overs got not apparent. That looked very high to me.
A low beamer, I think it was. One of the skiddy ones that are just below the waist height. But it was well played by Pereira in the end.
Prabhadani yet to score a run as 0 from 6. So far has not shown a huge amount of intent to play anything too expansive. In comes Filer. And there's a slightly more aggressive shot. And she might argue she withdrew the bat there, but that might be being a little generous. Filer certainly reacting as if she feels she got close to finding that outside edge there. 28 overs gone, 100 for 7 is the score under cloudy skies at Northants as England exert pressure on Sri Lanka in the second one-day international. All action in the County Championship available to listen to on the BBC Sport website and app. I should probably bring you up to date with what's happening in the Asia Cup as well, because we've been keeping half an eye on that. And I think, there's a remarkable rear guard action, am I right in saying, at the back end of the innings? Or have we got rain? Well, it's rain. I was going to say they seemed like they'd been 9 down for a while. We've got rain, that's why. 209 for 9 with 9 balls left of the innings for India against Sri Lanka in that game.
Rain's everywhere at the minute, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Been a lot of rain over Central Europe as well.
Has there?
Yeah. Here comes Sarah Glenn. There's a slip in place with Pereira on 25 and coming forward defensively. So I think there was a run there as well. No run taken into the offside.
Although Pereira is probably thinking, I need to have the majority of the strike, so I'll only take the 1 with a couple of balls to go, maybe.
Yeah,
Look for the boundary.
Round the wicket comes Sarah Glenn once more, and there's a big swing into the leg side. Fielder underneath it takes an excellent catch, but has to toss the ball back into play, having taken that catch, knowing that Siva Brunt, she couldn't possibly keep her feet inside territory, and there was no one to relay it to. Brilliant piece of fielding, but ultimately not leading to a wicket. High five from Charlie Dean, and that was quite spectacular, and she has saved 6.
Yeah, unbelievable bit of fielding. We see it time and time again. It's also something that's practiced. And as she knows she's going over the boundary sponge, she just flicks it back in. Could she have thrown it up in the air potentially and got the catch when she ran back in? But still a very, very good piece of fielding.
So 101 for 7. Prabhadani will be on strike now, the right-hander, defending. Like a wall. Nothing getting past the middle of Prabhadani's bat. That was a real heave into the leg side, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, Pereira looking for that boundary. And nearly gets it. It was good from that Siva Brunt.
Prabhadani, struck at the pad, appeal for LBW. No, says Jasmine Naeem.
Going down.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as vociferous an appeal as some we've seen.
No.
It looks a very well-worn bat, that, from Prabhadani. It's not got any stickers on it. Yeah, it looks like she's a fan of it. Well-oiled, it does. Bit of linseed. Defending. Forward in defence comes Prabhadani once more. 1 ball left at the 29th. 101 for 7.
I gave all mine away a couple of weeks ago.
Your bats?
Yeah.
Where was the call?
Well, I handed them to people in the crowd.
You didn't.
I did. Of course I did.
Here comes Glenn into bowl to Prabhadani, and this is defended once more, and there is no run. End of the over. 29 gone. 101 for 7. I love one of your bats.
End of the 100. We got knocked out. We're not playing in the final. And I thought, well, I don't need to take my cricket bag home. I've retired.
Did you not take your bag home?
I emptied it.
Did you?
I gave my gloves, my spare gloves, my pads, my bats, my sunglasses, everything you carry in your cricket bag, I gave away to people in the crowd. And then one little lad was like, have you got anything left in your bag? I said, I haven't. I said, I've just got the bag. He went, well, I'll have the bag then. So I even gave the bag away.
Oh, I think that who's got the bag? Who's got Alex Hartley's Welsh Fire bag?
I don't know.
That's a huge bag. If I see someone wheeling around a bag, because they got your initials on.
Tell you who it was. If you've seen it on social, the little lad that did Anya's final game presentation.
Ah, yes.
For the Brave.
Yeah.
He's got it, and it was the same size of it.
Here comes Lauren Filer then, running in to bowl to the left-handed Pereira, who will work the ball square on the leg side for a single. And the score moves forward, 102 for 7. Right, we've kicked off a bit of a debate here on the email. Chris gets in touch, saying, subject grounds. Warwickshire don't play in Warwickshire, they play in the West Midlands. There you go, thank you, Chris. Whereas John says, no, they play in Essex at Chelmsford, and they play in Durham at Chester Street. That's John in West Wales. It's subtle linguistic debating, isn't it? 102 for 7. As in comes Filer, left alone by Prabhadani, who has not been tempted in anything rash after that close call she had at the last phase of Filer's previous over.
We've got a funny one with Lanks. So we play half our games at Old Trafford in Manchester.
Yeah.
And half our games at Sale in Cheshire. But it's still Lancashire.
And Middlesex isn't even a place. Here comes Filer running in to bowl and swaying out of the way as Prabhadani through to the gloves of Amy Jones. So, I don't know. It's been a long season. Okay.
Can we just put those worms back in the can and shut the lid?
Yeah, you were right all along, Mervyn. I don't know why I got involved. I do understand. Lauren Filer, I do enjoy watching Filer bowl because she's got such an aggressive action. Runs really hard towards the crease. And absolutely gives it everything. Into bowl to Prabodani, left alone outside the off stump. She's now faced 14 balls, yet to get off the mark.
Prabodani very much reminds me of a certain England number 11. Had that partnership with Nat Sivabrunt out in India. 46-run partnership.
I remember it.
She contributed nothing.
But at the same time, everything.
And this is exactly
Very
what
much.
this
You were very
partnership-
much Jack Leach to Ben Stokes, without the one.
Without the one.
Here comes Filer bowling to Prabodani, and there is the aggressive stroke. She couldn't resist, finding the edge through to Amy Jones, and Filer strikes again. Sri Lanka 8 down, and after a resistance of 14 balls of caution and patience, Prabodani saw one pitched a little bit fuller, swung the bat at it. There's the edge, there's the catch, and Filer's extra pace doing the business for England.
Huge sigh of relief from Filer. She finally gets the breakthrough, finally gets the wicket. The ball just nipping back ever so slightly, back of a length. You can see she puts the head back and she's like, oh. And Sri Lanka find themselves 8 down, but Filer, for me, has been absolutely outstanding again today. 3 for in her debut at Chesterley Street, near Durham. And has picked up a couple here today as well.
Indeed. Right, then Mervyn's been back. And Mervyn, I love hearing from you, and I know you're a dedicated listener, and you say you've been a member at Durham for over 50 years, and thank you for getting in touch and sparking what is always a good little bit of fun for us. So he makes a good point, saying Durham's just a bit of lazy speak. Chester Street Town Council have been so helpful in all ways regarding the cricket, and it's only right Chester Street should have its name mentioned. Notwithstanding, if asked in a quiz where did England play last Saturday, if you said Durham, you'd be wrong. Don't want to nitpick, you're all doing a wonderful job. Mervyn, thank you. And you're right, of course you're right, and I hope you've enjoyed what we've seen over the last few weeks, and actually lovely to see a couple of England internationals played at Durham. No, at Chesterley Street. I'm joking. At Chesterley Street, because it's a brilliant venue, and it's been great to see some internationals up there as well. Here comes Lauren Filer then, a delivery onto the pads, and a single will not be taken, I don't think. No, they won't get through for one. Kulasuria is the new batter in, and after 30 overs, 102 for 8 is the score. If you want to get in touch on the email, tms@bbc.co.uk. Alex Hartley, some more from you, and then you'll be joined by Daniel Norcross.
Yeah, Filer picking up another 2 wickets here today, so 5 in 2 games for Lauren Filer. Speaking to her post-game, the previous game, she said, I didn't really feel that good. And she's been more consistent today, that back of her length that she was hammering towards Atupatu earlier on in the innings. She's been really, really impressive. We saw her against the Australians in the Test match at Trent Bridge in the Ashes earlier on this year, and she's had to wait a long time to play for England again. She's done a really good job today.
I'm really enjoying this aggressive option. This is what I want to see more of. Use the pace, use the bounce. As Glenn starts a new over, forward comes Pereira. Back to the bowler, no run. What I didn't like was watching Kulasuria turn down the single at the end of the over. Are we really in a situation now where we're protecting a batter at one end? This is slightly shorter, defended off the front foot, back to the bowler, no run. Because if that's the case, then Pereira has got to swing.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think when I've been in that situation before. England have only ever protected the number 11, but 9, 10 have been able to bat and score runs, whereas I couldn't.
Short, that's chipped off and that top edge, and it's running down to the boundary. It might get there, it does. It just plops onto the boundary sponge. It was short, and Pereira went for it. She didn't get anything like the contact she wanted, and it ballooned over the keeper, Amy Jones, down to the boundary. 106 for 8. Yes, Phil Long.
The respective averages of these two batters at the moment. Kulasuria averages 3.45 in ODIs. Pereira, she only averages 15, so, you know, who's protecting who?
Yes. Well, I mean, look, the protection bit I can sort of understand if it means that Pereira's going to swing, because she's got to do that. She can't defend as Glenn is in, and she does swing, gets no contact to speak of on it, maybe a bit of under edge, it rolls out to Short backward square leg. Amy Jones runs around to field. There's no run.
Do you want an average quiz question, Phil?
I'd love an average quiz question. Yeah.
Whose batting average between Kate Cross, Anya Strubsall and Alex Hartley is the best?
It's got to be. It's got to be Alex Hartley because you're only out once. As Glenn is in, forward in defence comes Pereira, pushed into the offside. There's no run, but averages don't lie.
No.
Catherine Siverbrunt, who's chipping away.
Catherine saying it's got to be mine. It's the only reason I asked. Wrong. Mine is the lowest.
Oh, now then, hang on. We got umpires.
Yeah, the ball.
Umpires review for LBW.
No, for a run out.
Well, I missed that.
Yeah, the ball was thrown in quite late. And nobody was really watching.
Including me. When the commentator's not watching, that's a cardinal sin. Thankfully, the scorer was. So we've got an umpire's review for a run out. The ball was pushed out to the offside as the rain falls slightly more alarmingly.
Oh, it's out.
Oh, she's out.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. The throws come in at the non-striker's end, and there is dawdlage. I'm afraid there is terrible dawdlage. Kulasuria was dawdling at the far end. She hasn't put her bat down. Her bat's in the air. She's actually watching the ball onto the stumps. Everyone's watched the ball onto the stumps, and that is criminal. Criminal cricket, just as the rain falls and just as I think we're going to have a cessation in play now. 106 for 9. The covers are being called on, are they, by the umpires? Yes, they are. That's the last passage of play before the rain break, and it was one of the worst you'll see. It was a good bit of opportunism from Kate Cross, who threw at the non-striker's end, and Achini Kulasuria, who faced just that one ball, the back end of the last over, was out of her ground. She was just standing in front of the crease with a bat in the air over the crease, and the ball hit the stumps. And Sri Lanka lose their 9th wicket. But with the rain falling, we don't quite know when they're going to come back out, because the problem with a day like today is that they've been able to play through what has been steady spits and spots. There's not been a lot of rain at any given moment. This is the first time we've really had so much rain they've got to go off. But now, of course, we need it to stop completely to get back on. And we won't lose overs immediately, reason being that they can make up some time in the interval between innings. So there's 30 minutes allowed for the interval. And in extremis, you can reduce that down to 10 minutes. Now, of course, if it continues to rain so hard, then you can keep on reducing it until such time as there are only 20 overs left to be bowled. But that is a long way away yet. That's something like 6:45. You'll be pleased to know, Alex Hartley.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at that run out because even Sarah Glenn didn't have a clue what was going on. She looked surprised and looked at umpire Anna Harris and went, what happened? Is it out?
Well, it caught everybody unawares apart from Phil Long. Because the umpire at the non-striker's end could have given that out if they'd also been looking, but the only person who was really looking was Kate Cross and Phil Long. And then the third umpire was brought into play, and Kulasuria has got to go. So Sri Lanka at 9 down. I don't quite know when they're going to come back out. I wonder if we can send out some rain monitors to check, because the rain is coming from, slightly annoyingly, behind our box, and we have no windows at the back of our box. So Luke is going to, our production assistant, is going to go outside. He's going to brave the terrible weather. We're going to leave him out there for 10 seconds, and then we're going to do a moisture test and see just how wet he's become. Seems like a good idea.
Seems like a great idea.
The Sri Lankan scores have gone off for rain. 106 for 9. 106 was the score they made the other day at Chester Street. And just a little note about the Sri Lankan scorecard: 4 ducks so far.
4 ducks. Yes. And how many were there at Chester Street? Also, can I ask you, because I wasn't at Chester Street.
Yes.
What was the crowd like?
Good.
Good.
Well, it's a lie. That I've just lied.
Right, I'm just now feeling Luke, and specifically his hands. And if that was genuinely 10 seconds, that's serious rain, that.
Yes.
Let's try a minute. He's refusing to do that.
The crowd at Chester Street is they cut off the big stand. They cut off the main stand, so it looked empty. There was a decent number of people in.
Yeah.
I was expecting more because it was a sunny day, you know. But
because today and this summer has been absolutely epic for women's cricket. We have seen sellouts throughout the Ashes. It was an extraordinary spectacle to witness. The 100 has seen sellouts, and we've had some pretty good crowds. Had a good crowd up at Chelmsford, didn't we, for the first T20?
The T20s against Sri Lanka, they were sold out.
Sold out. And so that's why I ask about Chester Street, because today is the one day when we haven't really seen large crowd, and I think part of that is because the expectation was for rain. The forecast was very poor this morning coming here. Our producer Charlotte Swift was planning on 3.5 hours of us talking rain break filler, which filled our hearts with gladness. And it turned out that wasn't in the end necessary. We just had the half-hour delay before the start of play, but that half-hour delay does mean we're very close to losing overs. As I say, there are, in theory, 20 whole minutes to play with. And what time exactly did we go off, Phil? Because this could become very important later on. Yes?
5 past.
5 past?
Yeah.
5 past. 5 past 3. Hypercourse has been in touch. Marvellous Hypercourse. Banksy, yes, the Banksy of women's cricket. Amy Jones now has the joint most catches by a keeper in a 3-match women's ODI series. We're only into the second game.
How good.
Which is pretty good going, as he says, given this is the second match. I'm sorry, Hypercourse, I should have just kept on reading what you were saying, shouldn't I?
Instead of getting too excited.
Yeah. Yes, I got ahead of myself there. So, yeah, that's has the joint most catches by a keeper in a 3-match women's ODI. And that's any keeper from any country in any ODI series.
Here's one you'll like, Dan.
Yes.
Amy Jones took 5 catches the other day. Five of the 8 she's taken this series. It was the best for England in terms of catching a women's ODI. It was joint with 2 other players. They are Shafika Pillay of South Africa.
Oh, yeah.
And Kim Garth.
Oh, whatever happened to Kim Garth?
Of Ireland, who is now Kim Garth of Australia.
Wait, as in she was a keeper?
Before she was a bowler.
5 catches for Kim Garth.
Wait,
hang on.
so she's played for Ireland, she's played for Australia. She used to be a keeper, now she's opening the bowling as a seamer.
Apparently as a keeper. Yes, who knew? Certainly not our 2 expert summarisers.
Didn't have a clue.
Well,
I was
I
still
didn't
too
know
busy looking at my batting average, to be honest with you.
Oh, we haven't finished the answer to that. So let's just tee that up again. So between you,
who
Crossy,
has the higher ODI batting average?
Yeah.
Alex Hartley, Anya Shrubsole or Kate Cross? Mind you, I bat at 11, Anya 9, Cross 10.
Well, now the thing is, if we're going to rank the 3 in terms of ability, I think we've got to go... Well, Anya, until the last couple of years of her career, when I really sensed that her heart wasn't in batting. but before that,
yes.
I mean, she could certainly whack a ball. Then, if you don't mind me saying so, we'd probably go Kate Cross, the woman who's got more international 6s than Charlotte Edwards, which she achieved in 1 innings. And then you.
Yeah. So if you look at those 3 players, you think Anya's going to be so far ahead of the 2 of us.
You do, don't you? But is it Crossy then?
So it's Crossy. So my batting average is 10 internationally.
Well done.
But this is where cricket's really strange.
Yeah.
Because my highest score's 3.
Yeah.
But it's because I never got out. So that doesn't really make sense. I've never scored 10 international runs. And again...
But you're worth 10 to the team. See, what that is you're worth 10 to the team because you get 1 at one end and somebody else gets 9 at the other.
Okay.
Or you get 0.5.
Anya Shrubsole, 10.55.
Okay.
And Kate Cross, 10.61.
That's a good question because you're all very close together.
Mine was ahead of Cross's by a significant amount until she had that knock in the Ashes at Bristol.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
How irksome.
No.
Yeah. So she's got bragging rights. Looks like Henry Moran's joining us.
Yeah, just to bring you a little weather thing.
Oh, yeah?
Really.
Give us a little weather thing.
Because I know Alex is very suspicious of rain radars.
You're a bit like Thomas Schaffernacker in your own way.
Do you think?
Yes, but you didn't have... you did for a while. You went a bit Schaffernacker on the hair in lockdown, do you recall?
I did. I went very... it got to the point where it got to the awkward stage when you're growing your hair long.
Yeah. Well, I've never been in that stage, obviously, for reasons clear.
You could grow your tuft.
It would look terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, like a sort of...
The best I can hope for is a Michael Bolton, and that is not a good look.
Well, it depends. Depends who you are.
I would love to see you with a ponytail at the back.
Oh, it'd be so good. Really, like Tina Turner, saxophonist. Back in the day.
Why don't we not cut your hair during India?
Yeah. Would you have to get leathers? Absolutely. Yeah, that would be a bare minimum. I think you'd, a sort of pair of leather trousers with their sort of, the
Hawkwind and a Marillion t-shirt, that sort of thing.
Oh, Yeah, you're basically describing my outfit at home. Right? Anyway,
Back to the weather.
Back to the weather. How did we get here? Right. So what we're seeing at the moment,
the Big Bang, I think.
is we got a bit lucky earlier on. Where we got more play than I
We
think
did get very
expected.
lucky, didn't we? Yeah.
And then what we've got coming over is rolling over the West Country at the moment, sort of Gloucestershire kind of region, heading over sort of beautiful parts of the country like Oxfordshire, and then
Swindon, that's lovely there as well.
lovely, yeah, absolutely, especially the road out. And I'm joking.
You've
I'm an
offended too many people
I'm
today.
an Oxford United fan. I'm allowed to say that. We're old rivals.
I knew I'd trigger you.
You did, right. And then I think what we're worried about is around about sort of 4:30 is there could be quite a nasty heavy band of rain, which then clears by around about 5, but we could be in for something quite hefty around 4:30. So that's what we're keeping an eye on. So about an hour and a quarter from now.
Right, but is there any chance that the rain will stop before then?
Well, there is. We're going to get a little bit of a gap, and it isn't too heavy, but the fact that they're putting the big covers on is a worry, isn't it? Because the more covers that are on, the more covers that need to come off.
Right, well, you see... Oh, now this is terrific news I've got for you here. This is... I'm not going to name the app because many apps are available, but our colleague from India, Prakash Wakanka, we're hoping to hear plenty of from the World Cup, every ball of every game live on the BBC Sport website and app. The app that he has recommended says to me, rain ending in 6 minutes. It's very specific. 6 minutes. So
Right, I'm
now
gonna put time
that
in.
would be handy. Now, and the reason why this would be important is because in the grander scheme of things, you can add an extra half hour. So we began play at 12:30.
Yes.
And
So that was our half.
and
No,
the-
we began play at 1.
I know, but we began the timer at
Okay.
12:30. And the hours of play take us to 7:40, I think, in the original. Is that correct? In the original plan. So you've got an extra half hour that takes you to 8:10. Now, the second innings has to have at least 20 overs in it. So for those of you at home trying to work out, go backwards from 8:10. That's the last time that England could go out to bat. And 20 overs equates to around about an hour and 20 minutes. So about 10 to 7 they have to get out. Now, of course, things would be a bit more easy if the rain ends soon, the innings ends quickly, and then whatever happens thereafter, it's just a simple equation of getting England out to go and bat in order to complete the game.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yes. So that's what we're keeping an eye on.
That's what we're keeping an eye on.
Look at that
And
big cover they're putting on there.
There's a big cover. Do you think we should send Luke out for another moisture test? He's bone dry now. He's absolutely fine. Yes, please. I would like a flat white. Thank you.
It's well,
And you'll be heading outside, won't you? So, and you'll be out there for a little bit longer. So we'll get a better gauge, I think, when you come back. If you look absolutely bedraggled, which, well, no, he's a fine-looking figure of a man.
I'll have a latte, please, Luke. Thank you very much.
Yes, and if you would like to get in touch with us at BBC TMS, let us know what you'd like Luke to get you. while
Luke,
he's wandering around the grounds.
tea, please. Milk and no sugar.
This is great radio, isn't it?
what I would say, keeping an eye on all of this, is the ground staff tend to have quite a good idea, don't they? They do quite a lot of looking.
Well, you say that.
Yeah.
May I remind you of the time I was at the Swalek as was, or Sophia Gardens as now is, when I found myself at a county championship match, a riveting game between Glamorgan and Derbyshire. It was the fourth and final day. And at 2 o'clock, without the rain falling, they went off. I didn't really understand why while I was commentating. And for the next 2.25 hours, they stayed off. And it was at that point that I finally lost my rag, and I went round to the groundsman's hut and I said, "Can I just ask why we're off?" Wondering if there'd been a burst water main or something underneath the pitch. And the groundsman said, "Well, it's going to rain, see?" I said, "I'm sorry, it's going to rain." So have we been off for 2.25 hours for anticipated rain? And it turned out we had. We've been out for rain might happen, stopped play.
Right.
That was a little bit like this morning, really, wasn't it? Wasn't really raining.
No,
That's right.
It wasn't, but I actually think they did pretty well getting as much play as we've seen. Because we've seen, a fair chunk of cricket, which I wasn't necessarily expecting.
It's brightening up.
It is brightening up. We do know what is moving in from the west.
We do know
Yeah.
what's moving in from the west, and that is quite alarming. Normally, of course, the most dangerous threats to British security have traditionally come from the east, from the Vikings and the Saxons, but on this occasion it's coming from the Welsh, from the west.
Do you want to know what is exciting
Yes.
for all those cricket lovers around the world? Jofra Archer has been bowling at the Oval.
I saw this. Wouldn't it be awful for David Willey now if...
Oh no, don't.
Wouldn't that be terrible?
Don't.
Surely not.
Don't. Well, and if Harry Brook didn't get selected at all because Jofra Archer comes in instead. Because that'll do.
Oh, goodness.
Well, he's travelling, isn't he? He's going as a travelling reserve.
Harry Brook.
No, Jofra Archer as cover for any bowler that might get injured out, because it's a long old tournament, 7-week
They
tournament
both are, both travelling reserves.
at the moment. Well, we wait because we don't know.
yeah.
We don't
okay.
know what this squad is, do we? The mixed messages we've been getting have been really quite extraordinary about England's squad, but no doubt it'll all be cleared up relatively shortly.
Well, we hope so, because we've got, well, actually, it's a good chance to plug what we've got tomorrow. Cause we've got,
why don't we?
Yeah, we've got the game of the Oval tomorrow. England against New Zealand, our third out of 4 one-day internationals. Test match special coverage gets underway tomorrow at 12:15, ahead of a 12:30 start. There'll be highlights on BBC television as well, with Ebony and the team. All your in-play clips and highlights. There's another game on Friday, so it sort of goes... Women's game, men's game, women's game, men's game this week.
Because Leicester is the last women's game, that's on Thursday.
Live, laugh, love Leicester.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
All of the games start at 12:30 this week, so you can just, weather dependent, obviously.
And the men's one-day internationals, and I think they've done it quite nicely, actually, because they've got the biggest game, the Oval match, the one before last, so that some people might go to Lord's.
Yeah, it's often how they do things. It's much like when you get a headline act, isn't it?
That's right, put them on first.
Yeah, you often go Rolling Stones and then the support afterwards. That's often how it works, isn't it? Yeah. Also, Saturday is the Metrobank One Day Cup final with Leicestershire Hampshire against Trent Bridge. Oh, Phil Long, he's excited about that.
Well, and actually, let's bring Phil in on this, because the chairman, is it chairman or chief executive, Sean Jarvis at Leicester, has been doing a magnificent job in drumming up support. Did you get to go to the semi-final? Because there was a huge brouhaha about that. Sean Jarvis was encouraging everybody to get down there for that game. So there's a genuine chance of silverware for the Foxes.
Yeah, and it was a good old day. Yeah, Leicestershire very impressive on that day. Big game, first semi-final in a one-day competition since 2001. And yeah, it's been a strange old competition. It ran underneath the 100, let's be honest, didn't it? And there's been this slightly ironic hashtag of people having Metro Bank fever.
Well, I had it. I went to 4 matches.
And we were both at it was Leicestershire's first game, wasn't it, at the Oval that started that tournament.
It was a rout by Leicester.
It was a rout, but there was a good old crowd there that day, and there was a lot of runs. There was a nice controversial catch by Rishi Patel just to sort of set things up and running. And yeah, from there, Leicestershire, one bad performance against Notts, won the rest of the games.
Against Notts, of all people.
Of all people. But since then, been superb. And, a final.
And
unfortunately, I will be there with my Leicestershire Fox's hat on.
Do you have a Leicestershire Fox's hat?
I might even buy a bucket hat.
Really?
And I never, ever thought I would say that.
No, because he's got a tradition, this film.
Yeah. Dan, your weather app said that it would stop raining in 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Shall I check again?
It's been 6 minutes and 42 seconds, and I can confirm it's stopped raining.
Hey. See, you never trust the apps, Alex.
I don't, but maybe I trust this one.
It's the one I've been using for years.
It's just been rebranded.
I know.
Maybe I just don't trust you.
I know. It's outrageous.
What reason could you possibly have for that? Well, this is good news. The rain has stopped, and I see very few umbrellas, which is a very good sign. But what I don't see is any real human activity out in the middle. There is a gentleman who's just lifted a hat. He's wearing shorts, obviously, because he's a member of the ground staff. That is totally obligatory, whether it's -10 or +40. There's a tractor, rather sadly becalmed on its own.
I've never really seen a tractor look so limp.
No.
I know. They're normally such joyous,
Forlorn.
energetic vehicles, aren't they?
They are. They've got character, haven't they?
Yeah, a bit of pizzazz.
They're good for animation in children's programmes, I tend to find. They rear up. They've got very expressive eyes.
That one looks sad.
It does. It's a sad tractor. Yeah. It looks as though it's not going to be doing anything for the next 30 years. It looks like one that you might find in a corner of an old farmyard that's been abandoned 40 years ago.
Well, it actually looks like one that should be at Grace Road because it's in the Foxes livery, isn't it?
It is.
Green and yellow.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 2 teams playing in green and yellow. South Africa and Australia are playing out a one-day international.
They are.
Because there is cricket going on all around the world.
Do you want me to give you the latest?
Why don't you?
From Potchefstroom, where Aidan Markram is on 78 from 61.
Don't tell me, is Marco Jansen on 18?
Off 12.
You wouldn't bloody believe it. He is.
And the score is 293 for 5 after 46 overs at a run rate of 6.37.
Yeah, you've
Well worked out by you.
Yeah, and who else has got runs just out of interest?
Martin Ellis. Martin? It's Martin. He's not called Martin.
Nathan.
Nathan Ellis has bowled 8 overs, none for 41.
Yeah. Who's got the other runs?
You just have to wait till...
See,
Quentin de Kock, I believe, did quite... I thought it was a nice opening partnership, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, 82 for Quinton de Kock. Tamba Bavuma scored 57. Reza Hendricks 39.
He's back in the squad, I see. Reza Hendricks, yeah.
Aidan Markram, as I say, 78, not out. Heinrich Klaassen, 0 from 2.
A rare failure.
A rare failure. David Miller, remarkably, isn't playing in a T20 league somewhere. And he's actually playing an international. Because he's the sort of player, I don't know, there are certain cricketers that
Him and Ravi Bopara.
that it seems implausible that they aren't playing in a T20 match somewhere on the planet every time of day.
Yeah, well, I thought he was signed up for the Timbuktu Angels in the Mali League, but that's not the case. He must have given up that contract.
I was meant to do an appearance with Bopara on... we'll call it Friday. It was on Friday. Me, Stephen Finn, Mark Ramprakash and Ravi Bopara. Brilliant. Ravi's not playing cricket.
Rarely.
Turns out he got stuck in the United States. He was playing cricket somewhere in America.
Well, there was another little league started up in Florida, wasn't there, recently? There's a little offshoot, not the major league.
The T3.
Yeah, well, if I know Ravi, it'll be one where he's not required to bowl more than 5 balls.
And can whack it about a bit.
The rain has definitely stopped.
Well, it has stopped. It still looks quite grey, doesn't it?
But
I think it's gone darker.
Bit of brightness away to the right. To the right, though, behind us is the key problem. So I suppose we should run you through what's happened so far today, which is that England won the toss. They elected to bowl, which Catherine Sciver-Brunt thought was a rather... well, it wasn't the brave option. She would like to see England put themselves under pressure and bat first, but I suspect that after the shock of losing that T20 series by 2-1, the mission is to win this series, and being 1-0 up in the series with 2 to play, they wanted to bowl first and try and bundle Sri Lanka out. They very nearly have done. 106 for 9 Sri Lanka have been reduced to. It was a very bright start. Atapatu got going nicely, as did Gunaratne, along with Samara Wickraman. 26 from the first 2.5 overs before Gunaratne was out, and 41 for 2 when Samara Wickraman was out in the 8th over. But Atapatu was a big wicket. She fell in the 10th just before the end of the power play. The score then was 53 for 3 just before she was out, of course, 53 for 2 from 9.3, since which time there have been 21.2 overs, only 53 runs scored, and 7 wickets have gone down. Most impressive bowlers, I would say, probably, well, we'll ask our expert, but Charlie Dean's bowled splendidly, 2 for 12 from 7. Lauren Filer's bowled with aggression, 2 for 25 from 8. Kate Cross has picked up a wicket, 1 for 35. Alice Davidson-Richards has been banging a few in short, which I like to see, 2 for 16, and Sarah Glenn has bowled a spell of 5.5 overs of her leg breaks, 1 for 16. There have been 4 maidens in this innings, but Charlie Dean, Alex Hartley has been terrific.
Yeah, she has. To be honest, all the bowlers, all those 4 that you've mentioned, Filer, Dean, ADR and Glenn, they've all been fantastic today. Charlie Dean, bowling the first over in the power play, the last over in the power play, her first over in the power play, dismissing Chamari Atapatu, that was going at a decent click as well, just at a run of ball. To be able to, she bowled a couple outside the off stump and then fired one in straighter and got her out LBW. I've been really impressed with Filer, how she had managed to contain Chamari Atapatu, bowling back of a length. And then backed up by Sarah Glenn, who we know is just going to bowl full and straight. She's going to look to target the stumps. But for the flyer that Sri Lanka got off to, I think England have done so well to control things. And Charlie Dean, yet again, cementing her place in this team. And questions will be asked again. Why didn't she play that first ODI? Why was she not included? Why wasn't she selected? And she's come back and proven that she's worth being out there.
England have reduced Sri Lanka to 106 for 9. It started so promisingly. Cmmentary Atapatu getting some glorious drives away. 4 cover drives through the offside. Little flick down through fine leg as well. They'd scored 26 in the first 2.5 overs, and then it all went horribly wrong. I'm afraid that brittle middle order fell apart. Great bowling from Charlie Dean, especially. 7 overs, 2 for 12. She's looked superb today. And Lauren Filer and Alice Davidson-Richards have also been nicely aggressive, I'd say, banging in a few bouncers, which is what you want to see, especially against players who perhaps haven't had an enormous amount of practice against that. Although I have been informed today by Hypercourse that the Sri Lankan women have been practicing against some men to firm up their skills against shorter bowling, because it's pretty hard to do that in Sri Lankan women's cricket. The pitches don't really help. It's tough for the Sri Lankan men, who frequently don't play on pitches as spicy as the ones out here. So for the Sri Lankan women, it's even more tricky to get that kind of practice in. But I'm afraid today England's bowlers have been too much for Sri Lanka. But they may well yet get away with a no result, though, because the rain is falling, and it's falling steadily. Just to give you an idea of our timings, I've got Phil Long alongside me, and the original timings took us to 7:20. That's correct, isn't it? And then we have an extra half hour available.
Yeah, so it was 7:20 with the 12:30 start. So we lost half an hour because we started at 1. So that would, so we get the half an hour. That's there 7:50. Although England would only need to chase 107 to win
at the moment, yeah.
And they might fancy doing that in fewer than 20 overs. We do need to come back out and leave enough time for 20 overs to be played, which, with our calculations we've made, which will be about 6:30.
We think around about 6:30 they'd have to get back out there, and of course they wouldn't then be chasing 107, because there'd be a Duckworth-Lewis recalculation, and they'd need something, I don't know for sure, but it'd be something in the region of about 80 odd runs to win in 20 overs if they can get out there in time. And the rain is not teeming down. I very selflessly went and stood on the balcony for a lot longer than Luke did earlier, I can tell you that for now. I was out there for a full 5 minutes. I felt I needed to understand the full enormity of the rain, albeit with a gigantic umbrella. And well, Luke did wander around along with our producer Archie and get us some coffees, which was very nice. But I'm still yet to be convinced I didn't go around in a Pope-mobile or a buggy of some kind. Anyway, what I can tell you is it's raining, and it's raining in that steady way. That means they're not going to get back out there, and we're expecting it to rain for a little while longer yet. But if they can get out, as we say, Phil, just remind us again, by around about 6.
Yeah, about 6:30-ish we need to be looking at. But you say it's now 4:10. We'd need to get these. We need it to stop raining. We need to get the covers off. It's starting to look tighter and tighter, isn't it?
Overs are being lost as we speak. I mean, the rain's arrived and it's been persistent. It's been absolutely chucking it down. The ground staff have gone out there to have a little exploratory super sop, but it hasn't worked. And with the last possible time to restart the game being at about 6:25, that's only an hour and 13 minutes away. The rain's still falling. It's going to take at least an hour after the rain stops falling to get the conditions capable for England to have 20 overs to chase whatever Duckworth-Lewis would have put on offer. Unfortunately, the umpires have decided that there is no way that we can get back out, so the game has been abandoned. And this 3-match series will remain at 1-0 to England, with one more match to play against each other at Leicester in 2 days' time. I have Russell Arnold alongside me. We're going to have a very quick look back at what's happened today and what might happen on Thursday. Russell, it's a disappointing scene, but in a way, I guess Sri Lanka won't be too disappointed, because they've got out of this, and they can go to Leicester and genuinely believe that they can draw this series.
Yeah, there's two ways of looking at it. For Sri Lanka, they would have liked to play, because their main goal coming out here was to gain experience and be out there for a long time. But then in terms of the result, yes, once you lost 9 wickets and you're staring down the barrel, to go to Leicester with an opportunity to draw the series, yeah, you'd take that. But once again, an innings that started with a lot of promise. First 2-3 overs, the ball flying to all parts of the ground. It soon changed when England changed their length from bowling fuller and searching for swing to hitting the deck and just back of a length. They were quickly able to build that pressure and make those inroads.
only really a couple of batters shone. There were 4 ducks in that Sri Lankan innings, 106 for 9 when the rain came in the 31st over. Atapattu again, 34 from 34, 6 fours and a 6, looked in great touch, but after she was out LBW to Charlie Dean, there's only really Pereira who stuck around, 31 from 58. She had to, really. She wasn't able to play particularly dynamically as wickets were falling around her. But for England, it was just a solid all-round bowling performance, wasn't it, really? Lauren Filer, I thought, impressed. Alice Davidson-Richards. They both went to the bouncer, and that did have the Sri Lankans in a little bit of trouble.
It did, and I thought it was a good piece of bowling from Filer and Dean to get the 2 big wickets of Harshita Samaravikrama, who's very solid, who'll keep hitting the gaps and can bat deep into the innings. Filer bowled that shorter one, and then suddenly one slightly wider, fuller one, got Harshita Samaravikrama reaching out and then nicked through. That was a big blow for the Sri Lankans. And then Charlie Dean, around the wicket, slow through the air, tossed up a couple, and then one a little quicker. Had Atapattu in all sorts, actually so much of a tangle that her bat got stuck on her bat pad and couldn't come down in time. Moment those 2 wickets fell, it was going to be a real crawl for Sri Lanka.
Charlie Dean impressed. I mean, I think in part of what you've touched on there is her changes of pace. I mean, she really is a mature bowler, isn't she? You've alluded to how she tossed one up, gave the ball some flight, but then she suddenly put one in a little bit quicker and a bit flatter, and with no really discernible change in action. That's a great skill to have.
It certainly was. And when you're throwing it up in the air, it's always enticing the batsman. That's where you can cause a lot of doubt. But she did get a little bit of turn on this pitch, which also was handy. But bowling those angles and subtle change of pace will always break the rhythm of even the best players. So it's very important that you control that.
Now then, we have a match in 2 days' time, and that's at Leicester. Do we expect to see much the same Sri Lankan side out there? Do you expect any changes for either side?
No, I think Sri Lanka will continue with the same team. It's just about applying yourself and trying to bat deeper. Even the few balls, the top 4, especially top 4-5 batters for Sri Lanka out there, they look good. They are able to hit through the line, but there's got to be a lot of work done in developing more power, the ability to pick up the gaps with ease, which will ease the pressure and enable you to keep ticking that scoreboard over. And also, as we realized, back foot play also has to improve. So these are areas that Sri Lanka will identify, they look to work on and get better. Lots of things have gotten better. Even as a team, there are more players that we are looking to get you those runs. The energy in the field's been good, so I would just ask for more of that.
Phil Long is alongside me. There's a strange statistical quirk here that Sri Lanka were bowled out for 106 in the first match of the series, and they've closed there on 106 for 9, and it just highlights how effective England have been with the ball in the 50-over game, and yet we saw how dominant Sri Lanka were in those relatively small run chases, albeit at Chelmsford and in the third T20 location, which I've momentarily forgotten. And Sri Lanka showed real purpose in those 2 games and did better than scoring 106, didn't they?
I think Sri Lanka's real problem when it comes to 50-over cricket, they've had this against England, is that it's the inability to score enough runs. In T20 cricket, yeah, they were chasing small targets against England, weren't they? But mate, 130, 140 always gives you a chance to win. We mentioned it on commentary earlier. They've only ever made more than 200 twice against England. I was just looking, and all the times they've played England, this was the 19th time the 2 teams have met. Sri Lanka batters only gone past 54 times. 2 of those win the game we've spoken about quite a lot over the last couple of games, the famous win at the Brabourne back in 2013. So take that game out of the equation. In the other 18 games, only twice as a Sri Lanka batter past 50. That's rarely going to put you with a chance to win a 50-over game of cricket.
So much seems to rest, doesn't it, on Atapattu's shoulders. And if they get the chance to bowl first, Russell, I just get the feeling that keeps them in the game longer, because it's their bowling that caused England all sorts of trouble in the T20s. And if they actually need 200 to win, it's part of the problem that when you're setting, you look at England's batting power and you think, well, we've got to get to 250, and then that means you play rash shots a little early. In T20, when they were successful, they bowled first, and their bowlers put a lot of pressure onto England, and then that gave their batters genuine belief.
And even when Sri Lanka beat New Zealand earlier in the year, it was done chasing. So knowing what you're chasing down seems to be an easier way to go in preparing your mindset, and the players are able to focus on those targets. But setting a target, it's always vague in your mind. How much do you need? How's this pitch playing? Too many questions for the moment, and hence life's a bit complicated for the Sri Lankan players at this point of time. But it's only experience that will get them better and keep them competing with the better teams.
Leicester. You know Leicester very well, Phil Long. What sort of conditions do we expect there? Is that a run-drenched environment?
Do you know what? I was just thinking about conditions. When Chester Street was announced as one of the venues for this tournament, for this series, this is the kind of weather I imagine for a September fixture up north. I mean, I'm drawing on every stereotype going, but you
really are.
Yeah, but cold, wet. I feared for long trousers and a rain jacket, which you've still got on, Dan. You've worn it all game, even though you've been inside for the last 3 hours. And today we have now got those conditions, whereas Chester Street was a warm, hot day. So I think it's very difficult to make a judgment on what the wicket was like. There's been some low-scoring games in the the Metro Bank, so a bit of Metro Bank fever there in the 50 over game. So look, I don't think it will be a run fest back end of the season, which might play into Sri Lanka's hands. I think a 300 wicket, then that might put them in a bit of danger. But I think it could be quite a low scorer.
Well, we're going to leave here because it's a gloomy, wet, miserable scene in Northampton, which is a great shame because the crowd here would have loved to see this game go through to a finish. It's certainly not the end of international cricket on the BBC this summer. Tomorrow, England's men play against New Zealand at the Oval in the third of 4 one-day internationals. It's a funny thing, it wasn't that long ago that people realised that if you had a series of 5 matches, there was a strong chance that one or other side would win. But they've decided to go for even numbers for no apparent reason. So the third game is at the Oval tomorrow, and then the final game is at Lord's on Friday. That's the men's. The women's 50 over matches end for the summer on Thursday.